Hi,
Hey,
Nina.
hello, Judy.
How are you?
So we are live. I mean, we are live also in the metaverse. I have our team inside. They will make photos from us. Unfortunately, we cannot see them, I guess. Um, I would like to start tell the program what we see today, and then we start with our conversation. Okay, so welcome everyone who is visiting us today here in the Berlin Metaverse at Universe at our conference last day. So after Dudi and me, we will listen to Dominic Tu from Echo X, and after Dominic, we will listen to my friend Ahmed. He's from Dubai and is partner of Global Partners Investments. Dominic actually is coming from Taiwan. He will speak from Taiwan. We have a pretty global team today. Dudi from Israel, Dominic from Taiwan, Ahmed from Dubai. After that, we will listen to Brian McMahon. He is from LA. And also Taisa will speak about investments from LA. And I think that's it. Then it's already 7 or 5 o'clock. And now we can start, Dudi, with our conversation. I'm happy to have you here today on stage. I would like that you introduce yourself. And after that, I mean, everybody knows who I am, I guess. I'm Anna from UNAI, organizing Universe Conference. And now you please present yourself, Dudi.
Yeah, but I don't know if they know your story, so maybe later we will talk about our both our stories merged together.
Yes.
So yeah, I'm Dudi Cohen. Currently, I'm working for Kornit Digital. Kornit Digital is a company that's like our core business is creating printers, digital printers over fabrics and over ready-made garments. It's a global company that's being yeah, it's like in the U.S. stock market. Our biggest client is Amazon. So most of the T-shirts or hoodies or whatever that's being sold on Amazon is being printed on our machines on demand. We are working towards promoting the fashion industry into an on-demand sustainable fashion, but maybe we'll talk about it later. I'll
Mhm.
talk a bit about myself. So yeah, I was born in Israel. Now I'm in Tel Aviv. I came from a background that wasn't very, I'd say, financially stable. So at the beginning of my life, I really tried to go up the socioeconomical ladder, and that's why in Israel high tech is very big, and so I found myself working in tech. I have a first degree in economics and Middle Eastern history, an MBA, and then I found myself programming in some tech companies in Israel. At some point, I think I achieved my financial goals in life, and I got into a more stable, yeah, circumstances. Then I decided to go back and fulfill my dreams, and my dream was to become a fashion designer. So at the age of 29, I left everything and went on a 4 years program in Shankar School. Um, and at the beginning of this program, I wanted to have nothing with technology. I didn't want to see a screen, didn't want to touch a keyboard, nothing. I was like, it was a reaction to the past years. And Yeah, but at some point throughout the program, I realized that my competitive advantage, and also I don't know, something drew me back towards technology. At the beginning, it was like just printing codes over fabrics. It was very more of like yeah like an application or something over fabrics, like patterning and print. And then at some point, I really wanted to have technology in my project. And so for my final project, it began with an idea of creating a machine learning algorithm that you put in a collection of whatever designer you want, and then you get a collection back. using GAN algorithms. At yeah, they didn't accept it. They didn't like it at that point. It was before AI and Mid Journey and everything started afterwards, which is very sad because I think it's an amazing tool I could use as a fashion design student also. I can say that last week I was a critique and at my school, and I was very happy to see students using AI as a source of new ideas and inspiration for their clothing. I've seen garments that were inspired or even designed by AI in combination with the designer. That's it for my graduation collection. I decided, and you will see it later, the video. I decided to have. It was the first ever fully virtual collection. Um, and yeah, I just at some point realized I might not be the best fashion designer. I might not be the best tech person, but in the middle between in the area between fashion, business, and technology, I can be very successful and also enjoy it very much. Um, and then I found myself in Kornit Digital. Today I'm a fashion tech innovation manager at Kornit Digital, and maybe we'll talk later about what we are doing.
Yeah, cool. When I listen to your story, I see so many similarities. Yeah. I tell a little bit of my story. Our talk is from design to innovation and from innovation to design. So we actually decided to talk about our own stories and how we become from design to innovators. So I started studying fashion design, actually fine arts before, super creative. I was specialized in paintings. In painting, I studied in Melbourne and Barcelona fine arts. And then after that, fashion design, I was working as a fashion designer. I was actually also specialized in printing. Um, I had my own fashion label and I worked as a stylist also. And for me, the intention to work differently was also to have a look what is more sustainable, right? I saw all this sustainable fabrics, but I thought for myself that is not enough. So we don't change the industry with just using fabrics. And then I started to have a look to the consumer, and I thought they need to have clothing which is more for them, more personalized. And then the first software we wrote, or I wrote together with a friend, was transforming my sports data. I'm very sporty, running marathon and things like that. Transform my sports data into designs. So analyzing heart rate, steps, and so on. And then it was also what I printed on sports clothing
Nice.
and collaborating with different sports companies. And fun fact, we ended up in a cycling area, and a lot of cycling teams bought the shirts, analyzing their whole team sports data, and then we printed it on their shirts, and then they got also the like a paper where everything was explained, and then it was also print. It's actually also a similarity, and doing that, I found out, or I recognized, okay, maybe we can digitize the whole back end value chain. And then I went back to university. You started studying design, and I went back and entered into IT economics.
Mhm.
And I had this crazy professor who didn't get anything from fashion, totally tech. And he said, hey, no risk, no fun. Let's build like a little focus group on design and neural networks, AI. And we had this 1 year to like seven students. We developed and had to look like neural painter. How can I adapt a neural painter that it paints like me, like I would do, and
Mhm.
things like that. And then I also did my final collection, trying different neural networks and printing them on clothing. And it was also my final collection. And we did this fashion show later on, sponsored by Microsoft, during Berlin Fashion Week. And this
Okay.
was my final collection, also presented to my university. And then after that, I wanted to write my PhD and went to all these fashion companies and decided we've gonna find you now. AI would be all today the platform for work with AI to support design processes. And yes, and I also could not go back to design. I could not do original design like I learned it or being handcrafted creative anymore, but I'm also not the coder. So I'm like you in the middle of everything right now, like CEO, but also like kind of the bridge or an ambassador in between the two
Yes,
fields.
because we're aliens in both worlds. We're
Yeah,
aliens in the designer's world. Which is, I think it's good. It's a good thing, yeah, because most of the people, they have like, they talk about half, half sides of the brain, the right side and the left side, which don't usually, I don't know, communicate, like the design part, the creative part, or the more technical part. And somehow we found ourselves in the middle, connecting between right and left. Yeah, I
absolutely.
think it's a very interesting position to be here. Like, I'm very glad that that's what I'm doing.
Yeah, 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 I can imagine. And I notice also with my tech team that they don't understand design and they don't understand how designers work and how they look at the platform and what has to be there and how it has been named and how the interface has to be that designers really get it and what really is the workflow. So I'm always saying on stage, techies or developers think a shirt is a square and a hole. That's
So what,
it.
sorry?
A square and a hole.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Right? Do we have the same experience?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, but yeah, but I really also, I think, maybe me as a person, I think I'm enjoying more the being in between the two worlds, and also the being the creative thinker rather than the coder or the designer as
Mhm.
itself. That's why I think I found myself in the innovation parts of it, the project management of this industry. But
Yeah,
talking also, but you were just talking about sustainable fashion, and I think sustainability can come from a lot of different innovative ideas. It can come from really like a technology of a new ink or something, but it can also, or a new fabric that's being upcycling or this part, but it can also come sometimes from very simple business models, innovative business models, um, like as I said, for example, like the on-demand fashion. Like
absolutely.
the today we know that one of the biggest problems of this industry used to be and still is for fashion networks, like the big ones like H&M, Zara, is holding a stock. They're trying to use machine learning, AI, in order to understand what they need to produce. But if you can produce only after someone has bought it, it's more sustainable. If you can produce it next to their home, it's more sustainable. So yeah, sometimes it's just looking at the parts differently, and changing the direction of stuff.
Totally.
Which can, like, you don't need to try to expect what the consumer is doing. And also today, I think a lot of us are buying stuff online. So, and we have some different expectations than just going and getting at the same time. I mean, unless you got some, I don't know, event or wedding, and you have nothing to wear, and you go get something from whatever.
Yeah.
Or unless it's designers, like high luxury, you will also, although people buy luxury brands today also online,
Yeah.
then consumers today um, can expect waiting a few days. And if that saves a lot of the yeah, a lot of the excessive stock.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
There is a statistic, 80% of the consumers buying like basics or not creative clothing, and 20% of what the consumer is buying is always one piece somewhere from a special designer or one piece like very creative. So
mhm.
80% could be maybe on demand. I mean,
Yeah, exactly. Now I'm now, as you know, I'm moving to Berlin this month, and I'm just here with my mom, trying to look at all my closet. What am I doing with all the stuff, all the excessive stuff? I find clothes that I didn't wear for a long time. So even us who are aware of it, it's sometimes hard to, to to, to actually act in the way we preach. But trying, and it begins with awareness. There is a statistics talking about the Gen Z now, that's the most aware generation ever, however the most polluting one in terms of fashion.
yes,
That's
totally.
their biggest, like the brand of the year last year was Shein. So
I know, I know, I know. I just look at my daughter. We had fights about this brand. So,
I guess so.
so, so what do you think? How? I mean, I always was saying then I really stopped communicating or educating consumers, and I started to. That's why we started, or I started Yunnan to just change the back end and change the industry because educating the consumers kind of helpless sometimes.
No, I don't think it's helpless. I think when I look at the differences, I can see it, for example, between Israel, Tel Aviv, and Berlin, Germany. So if I'm talking about recycling and consumers education, so I think over there when I go, for me, I'm going to the trash is like going through a test now, like where do I throw everything away and stuff. But that's consumer education. It takes time. Over here, we have just 2, 3 trash cans. We don't really separate as much as you would, but it's a progress. It's a progress, and it will go there. But we don't have to wait. And there is stuff that even if the consumers will do their best, there's still a lot of stuff, like I think over 50% that the industry is responsible of.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah. Oh, you're right. And has Kornit this is the mission or vision of Kornit to be more sustainable with all their work also? I guess so, right?
Of course, yes.
Because if you talk about on demand producing.
So Konit is attacking this issue of sustainability from many directions. One is really creating the most sustainable process as itself, the most sustainable printer, saving money, less pollution. The cans of the ink. We think about it as a whole solution.
Yeah, water also, right?
What?
How much water do you use? I always was I
Yeah,
also was
how much how
yeah.
much water do we use? How much we're trying to? I mean, we're not trying. We are in part of the ESG, so we have to maintain zero balance of pollution. So we need to plant trees where we do. So there is this stuff, but there's also, as I said, business models. So today, Kornit has over 1,300 consumers worldwide. Worldwide, I'm talking really. We have headquarters in the US, in South America, Germany, England, Tokyo, Israel, and we have consumers all over the world from
Just
it.
one thing, B2B consumers, right? Not B2C.
Yeah. Those who buy our printers, and what we do together, for example, when I was talking about business models, so we're connecting them to what we call GFN, Global Fulfillment Network. It's their interest that once they bought this, I don't know, every machine costs a few hundreds of thousands of dollars or millions of dollars,
Mm,
depending on what machine they want. They want it to work all the time.
yeah.
So what we are trying to do is connecting them to what we call Global Fulfillment Network, GFN,
Mm,
uh,
mm,
which what it does, as I said before. So, for example, I'm sitting here in Israel. I designed something that you want to buy in Germany, and you have a printer next to your home. Once you will buy the garment, we will send it to the nearest available printer, and we will fulfill it next to you. What it
like
means is that,
sewing and everything.
huh?
This because it's printed and then has to be sewn.
So it depends. So there are two. There is DTG and DTF, direct to garment and direct to fabric. So it depends if you printed over a roll of fabric or if you printed it like this, I don't know, like a t-shirt, like
I
a t-shirt.
know. I was
Yeah,
also specialized in printing.
yeah. So it can be, yeah. So it can be either that on that or that. So
Yeah. But
but it,
listeners don't. Our listeners don't. I just forgot at some moment that we are on the metaverse and everybody's listening to us. So explain, please. What is the difference?
yeah. So as I said, there's the DTG machines which print over. It's just like you put a pallet and you put a T-shirt on it and it prints on it. These are more smaller machine, and there are also fabrics where you can print like meters of fabrics.
Yeah.
And so it depends. It depends on if you want to create a fully printed high fashion dress, you will do it with printing the garment. If it's a T-shirt that's ready-made, you just want to you'll print it using the DTG.
Yeah.
Anyway, so what we're trying to create in this way. So first of all, we have the most sustainable process of the printing. That's one piece. We have the non-stock. It was just created once you bought it. The designer didn't have to, even if we're talking about a more sustainable and competitive area for the new for small designers to play, they don't need stock. So it's not just the problem of Zara or H&M, it's also the problem of small designers, even that they can't step into the game because they need a lot of money for the stock, which will be
Totally.
excessive and will be thrown away. So here, it will be, I
That's
didn't
in my office of Yuna. I got the clothing from my stock from my fashion brand.
you see.
Yeah,
Exactly. So imagine that it will be created only once you bought it,
amazing.
and it will also be produced next to your home. So in Berlin, for example, then we saved some sustainability on the shirt itself. We saved some. We didn't have excessive stock, so another dress that would be thrown away, and we don't need to I don't know, like, to create the garment somewhere in China and then sell it and then send it over to you, or in Israel and send it over to you. So also the transportation is being saved. Now that's, we have the technology. It's just we have the printers. It's just a different way of looking at it in terms of business model. Just building these networks that connect the demand and supply. It helps everyone in the chain. It helps the designer on one hand, who won't need to overproduce, and on the other side, on the other end, it helps the factories to always have demand. and
Absolutely.
and we're talking about the consumer education. The consumer wasn't educated. We didn't need no education here for the consumer. The consumer bought the garment as they used to buy it. They don't know what's happening behind the closet, but we saved so much.
Hmm. Yeah, I was always printing my fabrics in Amsterdam, but it was a company who had all the printers, and then it would be cool you're right, to have it next to me and just print it here and not shipping things around.
Exactly.
It's a good idea. Yeah.
So that's just innovation in terms of, like, we don't need to, I don't know, it's not like sometimes it's not rocket science. It's just thinking differently on what you have, playing differently with the different players and stuff.
And I think also all the startups which are now existing, it can be like the whole value chain. I mean, you are the printer, we are the software. Then there's whatever sizing. Another software. I met. We had some girl Clem app, or they called. She spoke on our conference on Tuesday. She has an app. She's exactly doing what you do now, having a look. You make photos of your wardrobe, and then she putting things together.
Yeah, like what I'm doing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
what you're doing now, right? Yeah. Yeah. So, yeah, what is your vision for our industry?
Um, yeah, so I hope so there are two things we need to work on: sustainability from customers' education and also from brands' education, I think. Um, Besides it, I think we didn't talk about it that much, but there is a lot of interest in fashion in the virtual worlds, in the metaverse, as we see it. If we're talking about like skins of avatars, and that there are researchers that shows that 70% of Gen Z dress like take their inspiration of what they are wearing from avatars, and also the, their avatars are dressed inspired by them. So there is a connection. I think a lot of the brands and a lot of the big brands, they don't even understand it.
I know.
I'm always advising, you don't need to understand it, you don't need to sorry, you don't need to feel it, you don't need to like it, you need to be there.
Yeah.
So I think it will go toward, like, we don't know still, the metaverse is still finding itself, creating some kind of creating its shape, but it will continue to change. I think also, as I see it now, if I'm trying to be some kind of trend expectation, so I think as we see it, we thought of like the VR and the metaverse. Today we see a lot of the mix of the two. The augmented reality is stepping ahead, and it
Yeah.
can be used in many direction, commercial directions, even AR over print, whatever. You can think of it in other ways. Like we see that now Apple stepped into the glasses, however they did it augmented reality. So I guess
Yes, I know. Yeah,
I
and I love this direction. I mean, I'm a tech fan.
yeah.
So I
So
love this direction. And we had some exhibitors also showing like mirrors where you can have a look to your clothing and try it on in a digital way. You know that also um, fashion companies do until 6 prototypes for one fashion piece, for one piece. So also with digital fashion, we could avoid that.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think some of it. I mean, there are new markets that are being born as we speak, like the virtual and the augmented market, and also I think a very like I think the problem with people is they see it either as the metaverse or the reality. I think, and what we are headed now is in the connection between the two worlds, connecting the physical and the virtual. That's the next trend. That's why
Um,
augmented reality is kicking in. That's why and that's where we will see a lot of the industry going, if we're talking in the direction of metaverse and the new worlds. So yeah.
yeah. I think actually for fashion industry, this maybe metaverse went a little bit down, but I think for fashion industry makes totally sense,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
We have only 4 minutes left. Should we have a look to your collection?
Yeah, of course.
Let's see if I can share my screen.
So that's my virtual graduation collection, my fully virtual one. All
Love
right.
it.
So yeah, it was a
Oh,
bit.
wow, this was super beautiful.
Yeah, it
Thanks
was
for
it
sharing
was
that.
taking my own neighborhood, Tom, where I grew up, and trying to get it into the new worlds. That was what this collection was all about.
And you know what? I mean, this is what a designer also is. I mean, we don't need sewing machines. We design.
Of course.
Yeah, I did that too. I did two digital fashion shows already, 2019 with AI generated clothing. And before I did fashion shows, I was sewing like hell, and I was looking like
Yeah, I
shit.
have to,
And then,
yeah.
and then before this fashion shows, I came even back from China from my exhibition because you can just work everywhere, and this is design, I think.
Yeah.
Congratulations, I really love it.
Thank you very much. So
Cool. I think we are at the end of our talk. I am very happy that we talked here. I think it's also recorded, so I can send it to you later.
of course, thank you very much for having me. I really had fun, and see you soon in Berlin.
Yeah, see you soon in Berlin. Bye bye. And I think Dominique can come to stage, right, Ines? Thank you, Dudy. Bye bye.
Bye bye.
Hey, Dominique.
Hi, Anna, how are you?
Hey, I'm happy now. I'm staying here forever.
Oh, I see.
No, 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 no. You will be alone. You can have your speech.
Okay. That's
I
my
just wanted to say hello if you are now here.
will you stay with me or I'll just hosting my 30 minutes. Thank
Yeah, we are now here, so I wanted to say hello. Thanks, Ines, for getting
you
me
very much.
in.
No, thank you very
Um,
much.
and they have fun. I think it's recorded. I think our team is also now today in the metaverse watching, and
Sure,
we are looking forward to your speech. Have fun.
sure. Thank you very much. Looking
Okay.
forward to see you in real well soon. So everybody, how are you guys? My name is Dominic. Very sorry, I cannot really present it in Berlin. Meeting you guys physically, right? But anyways, we can meet in metaverse. For today, I think in this 30 minutes, I would like to share with you, a platform. Actually, I think every one of you has been already using, for this Berlin Fashion Week, um, for all your ticketing, and also you see there are some like small challenges during the event are actually managed by our platform, so Echo X. So I think in a minute or two, I'm going to share with you everyone a presentation. So walking you through what is Echo X. So what you experience during Berlin Fashion Week is actually maybe a small fraction of our solution, but how these can impact, branding, fashion industry, and how it interacts with the real world, the online business, or the metaverse, right? So I think this is we are going to have some case study to share with you, what we have doing or what we have been done, so that you can try to see how these can impact or apply, to your business. By the end of the show, I will leave my email address. So if you got other questions, please feel free to send me an email. Ask me if there's any questions you'd like to clarify. But in the meantime, let me share the slide with you, and then I walk through this 20 minutes presentation with every one of you. Okay. So I think everyone have a look on the presentation already. So let me try to put it in the full screen. Okay. So we are talking about the a Web 2 and Web 3 customer engagement platform. As I have said, every one of you, when you are now getting the ticket of the Berlin Fashion Week, and there are actually small challenges, or even you redeeming your drinks, your coffee during the event, everything is actually empowered by our platform. So the first message I want to tell every one of you is, don't limit to think that, oh, Echo X is a event platform. Nice, right? Interesting. We can use it in a physical event, but and on the same time, we can also use it in the metaverse. Um, it is true, but not exactly. So our platform, actually, event management is actually one of our module. So the middle that we have highlighted is our event management console, which is already supporting offline, or like a real world event, Web 2 online event, or even a metaverse event. But it's actually a business management platform to help the branding, the company, to manage the engagement of their customers. All right, so we actually have like five core modules from our cloud-based CRM, a customer relationship management platform. And then we have our membership interactive engagement platform, meaning it's not only a one-time event. You want to have a continuous communications with your customers. You want them to be like have like a privilege membership, tiers of membership, right? To make them special, to understand they have their own privilege in your brand, right? So everything is actually managed in the engagement platform, the event platform, which we are now using. Also, we got like a business web free, a business module, and a ESG management module. So let's talk about the customer membership interactive engagement. So for a brand or a KOL or entertainment business or a fashion brand. So when they want to manage their customers, they usually they engage with four of our core modules: our CRM, our custom membership engagement platform, our event management, and also our AI business model. So we actually using these four modules to help the brand to have a continuous engagement with their customers to make sure that try to imagine for now, right? You may attach with different kind of membership, right? These kind of brands, they communicate with you either by the social network or by emails. So this is their standard communication way, not really interactive, and do not have like very strong engagement. While first of all, we have like AI generate interact mission to help the brand to have a continuous engagement with the customer. Meaning, like for the middle of the week or before the weekend, try to have a small quiz or telling the customer that hey, we have a new line of clothing, just put it on the shelf, online or offline, right? Then tell them something special about that, all right? And then if they have a time limit, they can have a discount code, they can have a small challenges, or they can visit the store to take a look in order to get some challenge achievement. For example, because I visit your store, I collect a badges. I am a loyalty customer. You tell me there's something new, and then I come and visit, right? Or I purchase some of your merchandise, or I share some of your message in my social network. All these things are actually can generate automatically by our AI platform, but at the same time, since we are a Web3 engagement platform, all the activities are well recorded for the brand or for the owner to understand who are my loyalty customers, who really love our brands. So it's like a one-stop management for Web 2, Web 3, and also for the physical store. All the records are on chain. So for precision direct marketing, it's much, much more easy. Oh, why everyone, who are those guys react to our message? What are the action they have done? Also, we can create a membership community. Everything is low code, meaning our customers, the brand work with us, the marketing team work with us, do not need to know technical codings, right? So we have easy API to integrate with their existing, marketing platform. So give you some examples. Um, Panacea. So Panacea is actually a NFT, one of the largest NFT deployments or programs in the Asia, leading by one of the leading male Asian artist, Jay Chow, right? So after launching the NFT, of course, wow, they sell very good price for the NFT, right? For good price and people are chasing about that. But after the launch, this brand wants to gather all the NFT owner to continue to educate them and continue to tell them that, oh, you are my privileged members. I'm going to give you some special access to um, concert, even event tickets, or even like limited edition merchandise. At the same time, for the NFT, because of people going or attending this kind of events, even those are exclusive events, they are okay. It's exclusive only for NFT members only. Oh, but I really want to participate. After participation, they got rewards, maybe like special 2D, 3D character NFT, you know, VIP pass, and limited merchandising. So try to make like the ecosystem between the brands and the members a continuous interacting, right? And for us, EchoX, we use a platform to connect these things so that the brand can easily manage everything. So it is a proven business model. We are very happy that for the Berlin Fashion Week, it's definitely one of our first customer in Europe. Moving forward, we're going to work with W Launch. While um, oh, I actually haven't forgot to mention Echo X. Actually, our headquarters is in Asia. We are actually in Taiwan, our headquarters. So we have our offices in Singapore and Hong Kong. And now we are working with our team in Berlin. So we are starting our business in Europe. So we are starting our business, but in Asia we already working with branding, as I said, right? Some web-free leading projects, car industries, um, um, consumer platform like Yahoo, and even like Michelin star restaurants or galleries, right? So these are the brands that we are engaging to help them to connect their Web3 business with their Web2 business to their actual world customer, right? So I think this is one of the very highlight. I think in the previous speaker, Duty, he also mentioned nowadays people already identify that, hey, we need to connect the virtual world with the reality, right? We need to connect them together. So customer not only saying in the Web3, yes, they will buy a fashion for their Web3 character, but they will also want to wear something similar or just from the same designer in the real world. How you can connect that in the easy format, and this is what we are doing. So let me have a quick walkthrough on the user journey, right? So during the using the Berlin Fashion Week as an example, basically after you register, we send you an email. Then there's a QR code, right? With the QR code, complete the registration, and then you receive the NFT, and then you can activate, your client, the user client module, then to receive redemption code to doing like dotted privileges. At the same time, you can redeem a discount code for gift as well, right? So this is actually a very simple exercise to let the companies in Berlin Fashion Week and also all the users have an experience. So NFT is not that far away, can be very easy engage, with our actual business. So claiming your, as I said, like claiming your NFT for the event pass, right? So we are actually for the now time being, so you have like what we call a web client. So you can use it in your phone or in your normal web browser. But on the same time, we actually also offering uh, like iOS or Android client for our brands as well. So if you say, oh, I want to have my like membership brand, uh, um, um, iOS program or Android program, everything can integrate it, in the single platform. So we can collect the NFT, and this kind of NFT can be a different utility functions, right? We very wants to emphasize that utility features is very critical when you want to have a continuous engagement with your customers. So you ask your customer for questions, for answering a questionnaire, to going visit your store, to buying a merchant. So beside the experience, what's the return? So what's the additional surprise effort that you can give you? Oh, I can give you an NFT. Nice, well designed NFT, cool. Put it in the wallet. It's interesting, but it has actual value to link with the actual world. So maybe collecting a few NFT can help them to redeem a gift, to redeem a free drink, or to go for exclusive event. All these help the customer more engaging with your brand and also with your brand communication, um, messages. So as I said, besides communication, we can create event missions and challenges. So during this Berlin Fashion Week, you can see different brands, right? Sponsor or have some small challenges to share you a free cocktail, share you a free gift, right? This is an exercise, but for the event exercise. But when you imagine when it is not only a single day event or a week or 7 day event, it is now a brand managing a bunch of loyal customers, right? You're now telling the customers, oh, this is spring, our spring collections just released. Please come to our store and take a look. After you finish the tour, scan the QR code, give us some comments, right? After they finishing the questionnaire, then you're going to issue them a badges or an additional NFT. So therefore, collection purpose or part of a bigger accomplishment, right? So then for the redemption, I think many of you has already tried. There's just a QR code, in the event right beside the cocktail bar, right? Scan it to show it, and then you redeem your drink. So everything at the same time is recorded in the back end. The QR code, when it is being used, you cannot activate it again. So everything is well controlled, right? For the budget purpose and for the control purpose. So this is some advanced mission that we don't have time to deploy in Berlin Fashion Week, but definitely I'd like to share with you. It is for the character or the avatar, we actually can make it very customized by collect badges or collect props so that to customize your character. So let me activate the video so you can take a look, right? So by doing different kinds of activity or mission, you collect different kind of props and you can wear it, in your character, in your avatar, right? These props can also be exchanged or even trade. So it is a perfect solution for the fashion industry so that you can have your seasonal, collection become props, right? And then to let the character to wear your spring, your summer collection. And on the same time, you may have like you know 30 or 50 items for this collection, with 3 or 4 are special that people need to achieve, a special event or a special challenge in order to collect the limited version, right? So there will be a lot of activities, can play around. And in particular, if you activate our exchange and trade mode, your members can exchange the props. Oh, I like that headwear. Oh, I like that outfit. Can you exchange for me? Oh, is it exchangeable? Can you send it for me? How you collect that one? What kind of challenge you collect that particular props, particular jacket, right? Or particular piece of dress or jewelry. So this is actually very, very interesting, and we are very exciting that in the coming months we got quite a few customer in Asia and Europe will deploy these features in their campaign. So we are looking forward to see how exciting the customer will be and how engaging they will be in this, like the mission challenge. So the redemption, as I said, is not limited on physical world, right? It's not limited for only drinks or coffee, can be a souvenir, can be a props in your metaverse. So it is it is unlimited basis based on the creativity, the imagination of your marketing team. So all your campaign that running online on the TV, in YouTube, on Facebook, can integrate 100%, with our platform to make the user experience more exciting, and more rich and challenging. So, to sum up, our client interface actually not only doing online registration, but can have like daily sign-in tasks, friends invite, community interaction, question quest, or even running questionnaires, right? So it is a web app running on all platform, and also can put it as an iOS and Android app as well if the brands require. Very important. Uh, all these actually are cloud based and with a management web portal. So we have dashboard, data management, props management, event management, redemption management, and with rules engine. And also we have our like AI challenge models. So we actually continuous creating new challenging models. So like questionnaire, like events, or like store visit, so that you can just put in input your like the your icon, your graphics, changing some of the wordings, and then you can immediately launch a customer engagement campaign. So it's very easy, very low cost, and very effective. So we are actually very exciting, because I think in the last 9 months, we actually are not launching in Japan and Hong Kong. We also start launching in Germany right now, and from the customers' feedback, we understand that we are doing the right thing. We are doing the right products to meet the customers' needs, not only talking about customer usage engagement or user engagement, but most importantly is how to engage the physical world, the online web 2, and the metaverse web 3. Most of our customer, very honestly, most of our customer do not have a very clear uh, mission or a roadmap in their Web3. They understand the importance, they understand the impact, but they just know, hey, when to start with. Can I start small, or should I need to, build our own metaverse, right? So with our platform, they understand that, wow, I got a lot of flexibility, can start small, and not only a Web3 event, it's a Web3 online and a physical event. So they can through each event to see what's the response in each universe, right? In the real world, Web 2 and Web 3, and how's the customer segment differentiate, in this different universe, right? So because our focus is working with brands, we work with listed companies in Asia in particular. So cybersecurity, data security, privacy is one of our top priority. So with our world-class cybersecurity and data privacy practice, so we are very confident that to work with our customers in Europe. Our partners currently is including the Dentsu and Deloitte and also Yahoo. So all of them are leaders, in their categories. But we are moving forward. We are exciting um, to announce that we actually work with several industries for food and beverage and also for manufacturing as well. So, but for fashion, or even like a high fashion business, we see great opportunity in Europe, and we are in this discussion with many brands right now. And if you find any questions, or if you are interested to use our platform to engage your customer, to have a more exciting campaigns and customer management journey, please let us know. And I think we are very excited to talking to you. So to sum up, right, our platform actually is a modules not only for event but for total customer management, right? From the CRM, customer membership, engagement, events, web-free business models to ESG. We actually all in one platform. So I think this comes to the end of my presentation and sharing. So at the end, I'll leave my email address. My name is Dominic Du. So I'm looking forward to talk to you or answer your questions or if you have whatever inquiries. And please let me know if you have any questions.
Hey, Dominic, thank you. Amazing presentation.
Hi.
We've been happy to have you on board, and also Alice presented on our event on site during the Berlin Fashion Week. So I have one question.
Yes,
What
please.
is your, yeah, what was your inspiration? I didn't hear it. What was your inspiration to do this whole thing? Did you ever always go to events and then you felt the tickets need to be more profound, or did you expect more, or how was it?
So I think event is actually one of the easiest user module. So I think for event operators or brand customer can easily use it to start a trial immediately for 1 day event or like a 3 day 1 week event, right? But I think
Mhm.
the really excitement that we have is when we are engaging. Since we start in Taiwan, we are
Mhm.
not a big country, but when we starting to deploy in Hong Kong and in Japan, we talk with some leading consultancy firm like Deloitte and other listed companies. They are actually think that they think that our products can be like immediate engage with their business or immediate
Mhm.
engage with their customers. So I think people always want to start in Web3, but they just hesitate and do not have a clear idea where should I start from, right? But with an like an event platform and also a customer management platform that can take care not only Web3 but also Web2 and the physical world, oh, they can actually has much more opportunity to bring
Mhm.
things together and test trial. I think this is the excitement that we found, and we see there are a lot of activities happening.
Yeah, and we had the theme of community at our Universe conference on site in Berlin during Berlin Fashion Week. And
Yes.
then we had with Alice together also the theme, yeah, community. What do you think then? The future of sales is community too? Is this also your goal?
Yes, absolutely. Because to us, community is actually a membership group. So,
Mm-hmm.
but what community require or highlight is interaction. So we want our community not just sitting around like a member, just receiving, but want them to contribute. The contribution is not only messages but also attending the event. So I think these are actually perfect for us, and we are looking forward to integrate our solution with the community.
Interesting. Okay, sounds great. When if you would have a wall, that's my favorite question, by the way. If you would have a wall, like a huge wall, and would tell something for the future for all your users or or companies who would use you or events, what would you write? One sentence.
So I think in one sentence, I would say a full integration of reality Web 2 and Web 3. So
Cool.
I think this is the thing that all business are moving forward, and no matter we are as a user or
Mhm.
consumer or part of the community, we should participate in such a format.
Sounds great. Cool. Thanks for having you. Thanks to
Thank
be
you
our
very much.
collaboration partner with Universe and Una AI, and looking forward to hear from you again, and maybe we collaborate for the next event during Berlin Fashion Week.
Absolutely. Looking forward to see you. Thank you.
Yes. Bye bye.
Bye bye.
Hey, now we can. Hey, I'm so happy to see you.
Hey,
I
how
wanted to
are you?
bring Ahmed on stage. You're actually really on
Mhm.
stage. Our team is also in the Berlin Metaverse to do some photos. I
Mhm.
sent that to you later. How are you doing?
Yeah, all is great so far. All is good. What
And
about you? It's been a long time.
yeah, it's good here
Yeah,
also. What time is it in Dubai?
it's 4:30 now.
In the morning or in the afternoon?
No, in the afternoon,
Ah,
4:30
this.
p.m.
So we didn't wake you up. This good.
No, 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 no.
So what you are talking about? What was the theme we?
So the theme was technology and investments.
Oh, this is amazing. My favorite
Hmm.
theme.
Yeah,
You know that.
good.
Okay, then I let you the stage and I leave and come back later.
Okay.
What do you?
So, hello everyone. It's a pleasure for me to be here at Universe event. It's a pleasure to be invited by Anna to come and join you virtually. I hope that I was able to make it to Berlin physically and be with everyone there. So, today's theme is about technology and investments. So far, the combination between technology and investments comes at an intersection right now, which is very crucial and taking a paradigm shift in our lives in so many verticals. But let's start first by talking about technology. So think of technology and of techniques. So the two words, technology and maybe it's derived from technique. So everything that you perform or implement technically can be considered technology, from the windmills to the invention of the wheel to having floating docks and then boats and ships. All these are technologies that we use. So the process and the tools that you use in the process of implementing something is a technique, which makes you a technician who's implementing a technology to achieve something. So why do we have technology, or why do we come up with techniques or technologies or technical methods for anything? Because we want to make something better, easier, more productive, less waste. So that's why we have technology. So, and that's why we implement technology in everything, starting from preparing a cup of coffee, cooking, healthcare, education, and of course investment and finance. So technology, we use technology in finance or in investments to make investment better. So we can train the models and the technological artificial intelligence model, pattern recognition models, AI, algorithms, to be able to predict the future, or at least derive some learning patterns from the past, which we call it the dynamic feedback of any system. So to make technology work for investment and make investment easier, make investment more informed, more predictable, more controlled. And then we have the investment industry is investing in technology, and technology is being applied into investment. And this is where it comes together to a point that, you know, to describe it more like, which is first? Did technology derive the interest of the investment sector to invest in technology, or did the investment derive the technology to be implemented into investments? Well, not to go so deep in this kind of debate, which is more or less like the chicken or the egg, but let's say that investment professionals and investment industry practitioners in all different investment vehicles and investment participants in the market, they all look at technology as a tool that might have an economical value. So, from a point of view that you have a solution, you have a technology, you have software, you have a product that a lot of people will be interested in, from the point of view that this product or solution or service will make their life easier, will make their job easier, better, more productive, less consuming, more profitable, and more economic. So investment professionals, investment funds, angel investors, VCs, they get interested into investing in technology on the basis that this technology actually has an economic model behind it that will derive profits, money. And this is more or less the word that summarizes investment. You're investing to make profits, and profits means whatever the asset that we use, which is money. Whether you consider now you're a legacy fiat oriented or crypto, digital currency, virtual asset oriented, in the end you have a currency or something that is a mean of exchange and a store of value. And then we go back again to the technology. They use the technology to better inform their investment decisions about the technology or other technology that you will be investing in. So you use one technology to predict your investment in another technology, or maybe in the same technology itself. But as this technology learns over the curves and the iterations of the process, if you want to think of AI at its extreme, in something that will be called unsupervised learning. So we don't supervise the learning of the machine or the algorithm. Actually, the algorithm learns by itself from the iterations, from the dynamic feedback. Whenever it went through a process or a decision, according to the inputs it has, it figures out a decision and makes this decision and learn from it. So here, these algorithms, this technology, this AI and softwares, if you want them to be more or less like human or even better, that means that we'll make better decisions than human, and they will even make bigger mistakes than humans, and then they will learn from these mistakes. But how do we assess and mitigate the risk of the algorithms and the technologies, whether they are physical technologies or virtual technologies like softwares? That's another thing. So we need to have even predictive analytics of the technology behavior or the technology implementation. And if we go to the supervised learning models, that we supervise the learning of the machine or the algorithm in an attempt to control it, or it doesn't go rouge, or it doesn't go out of control, and we want to supervise the learning of the machine and the algorithm, then we fall into another problem or another issue, which is our bias, because we're still humans supervising the machine, which we are trying to make it much more intelligent than us, but in the end, we are still supervising it, so we are actually limiting this, or might be even making wrong inputs to this system, that so we might be biased. So it's not learning efficiently. It's actually taking and carrying our biases with it. So actually, it will have the same legacy baggages that we are trying to get rid of. Subconsciously, we will inherit them to these algorithms if we supervise this kind of thing. So we have technology, we have predictive analytics, AI, investment, risk assessment, and behavioral finance. And behavioral finance comes from the psychology of the people behind the investment decisions to either invest in the technology or to use the technology in investment. So you will have biases in both, because sometimes you get biased about an investment product, no matter what it is, because sometimes it triggers something in your mindset. It triggers something in the back of your mind from any kind of experience you had that made you shape your view. We are all the product of our experiences, and we are all prisoners of our experiences. That's why we always seek consultation. We seek the collective wisdom. You always try to do research, analysis, consult advisors or people who have experience or have made a lot of mistakes before. As long as we cannot predict success, and anybody who can tell you that he predicts success, please let me know who he is. I'll be willing to pay you for that. But no investment professional or VC fund or any successful real and legit person or entity will ever claim boldly that they can predict success. What they can predict failure, because there are patterns for this, and we have seen it before. Yes, we have seen profits before, we have seen success before, but still we don't have the common thing for success for everyone. Everyone's story is a unique story, but so far, paradoxically, that failure patterns has been so far so similar and so predictive, from the attitude of the team, from the greediness of people, some people, or even founders, of the undurability and unendurability of the team founders, that they cannot take the long run. They get bored and tired if their technologies or startups like take a long time. So there are some patterns that we can see that might start a fight among the startup, or wrong implementation, or the wrong business model or rationale. Because most of the time, and why startups has high mortality rates and a lot of startups die, is because founders, most of the time, they fall in love with their first idea and they stick to it, and they don't face the reality. They want the world to adapt to their mindset and their business model and their ideas. But the reality is that you have to adapt to the world. It's not the other way around. We are part of the whole world. So, and no man is an island. So you cannot just stay in your workspace or lab or whatever and just imagine that this is the whole universe, and whatever you write on your computer or the code, and as long as it works virtually, that will have an echo in the economical, physical, real world, where you have the masses of people with different cultures, backgrounds, economic situations, political situations, demographics, that makes it totally different. And here comes another concept into the game, which is complexity theory. So how to handle all these complex things, from politics to geography to anthropology to psychology to finance to economics to even biology, and all affect the everyday life from the moment you wake up to the moment you sleep, and even during your sleep. So technology and investment is a very, I don't want to say complicated, but it's just so full of details that it needs a proper look, a proper study. And always know that your problem is not with the math, your problem is not with the numbers. You will always end up managing and measuring the risk with your gut, whether it's the risk of a technology or an investment that you make in a technology. I don't want to run more than that and like bore you with more talks, but I will just wrap it here and try to see if you have any kind of thoughts or ideas intrigued by what I have said so far. So back to you, Anna.
Hello. Maybe
Hello.
there's some questions from the metaverse themselves. Is there anything coming in, Ines? I'm impressed that you just talk 15 minutes, just like without any slides and anything.
Thank you. It's just I wanted to just not to get distracted by any kind of stuff, or just to say
Amazing.
it as it is. Yeah,
Yeah,
as I
amazing.
have it, as I know it, as I experienced it.
Yeah, and what are your three main points to summarize it? What are the three main points if you talk about technology and the rest investment?
Well, the 3 points to summarize it, I think I would put it this way, that technology nowadays derives investments, and investment as well drives technology in return. So according to the investment state of the market, the state of the investment industry and the VC industry, it influences and mandates a lot of the technological decisions and technological routes or paths.
Yeah,
And in return, when you rely on the technology to make your investments, it's kind of like a loop, like it's a circular loop. It's a dynamic feedback. So
yeah, interesting. We had also one person on site in Berlin. We had like this physical conference on doing this in the virtual space. He was saying technology investment in technology startups is how did he say that? Drives growth. Definitely, it's definitely always together. Investment drives growth. Do you think that, or do you think also investments without startups just growing organically?
well,
In the same way.
investments anyway, it's an instinct. We always want to invest in something, or we always want to invest in ourselves, or we want to invest in someone, or we want to invest in good time or in good food, or like
Yeah.
you always invest one way or another. And it all comes down to the to the tool that we realize our happiness and self-realization with, which happened to be gold in the old days, and now it's fiat money.
Mm.
So whatever it's gold, it's fiat, is going to be Bitcoin or whatever. This is what we can call money,
Mm.
which is a tool that you use it to drive investment. But why are we investing? We are investing to have a better future, to have a better life, to have a
Yeah.
better society, to have. So when we become so focused on the investment itself to the extent that we forget why we were doing this in the first place, we find ourselves in a place that we are totally hating it, even if we try to sugarcoat it and put a lot of accessories around it to make it look shiny, glittery, and appealing, but it's just shortly lived because you just come out from one investment hungry for the other, and you're not
Mm.
satisfied as, no matter how much you get, and with it just gets overwhelming. Like
Mm.
we don't have to get out of our total human nature and physical being, because without it we're not there.
Yeah, yeah. Have you been also on the founder side or always on the investment side?
Both actually. So yeah, I've been on the founder side and been on the investment side and been on the founding investment side. So as well, like founding some investment
Mm.
platforms. So it's kind of like the intersection of both investments and technology. I'm a computer engineer and a mathematician by background, and my experience is financial engineering and investment and portfolio
Mm.
management. I hold a bachelor of computer engineering, a master of financial engineering. So I think I've seen both sides of the coin. You know, whenever you flip the coin, you see both sides of it, and it's the same coin in the end. You know, like whether you like this side or that side, it's the same coin. But I see that sometimes we just get driven a lot by biases that we are not aware of. And this is one of the conflicts and the downfalls of being a human, that you're full of mistakes.
Yeah.
And the more you make mistakes,
Then more you
if
learn.
you, yeah, the more, if you don't learn, because not everybody learns, the more you make mistakes, the more you become humble. And the more you become humble, the more you are willing to learn. So
Yeah.
if the mistakes doesn't make you humble, you're not going to learn.
Mm-hmm.
So we just need to agree with that, even with our inner selves, to be able to realize why we are living, and why we are doing this, and what do we really want out of it.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right. Interesting. I'm happy to have you here for this talk.
Thank you. I'm very happy as well. Like it came like this. I didn't even have to prepare for it. I'm happy with this kind of, just like, you make me face it. Like I'm in front of the audience, and I'm just like have to say what I have to say without preparing or trying to sugarcoat something or rephrase it.
You founded also several festivals, right? Or several conferences.
Well, yes, for the past 5 years, I've been involved with a lot of the mega conferences and a lot of technology conferences and exhibitions and events, not just in the metaverse or blockchain. Yeah,
Mhm.
the majority, almost 50% of the conferences and 50% of the startups and the investors who come to these conferences are blockchain ones, but it's the entire VC spectrum, the tech VC startup spectrum, from energy tech to clean tech, marketing tech, cybersecurity, AI, and of course Web3 and blockchain and crypto involved, which is now taking a very huge hype. But all sectors
Yeah, and
involved.
the impact of this conference, is it like bringing these two sides together, technology and investment?
Well, some conferences or some events or happenings, like what I do is disrupted.net. So the disrupted is you can think of it as a hedge fund and a media powerhouse together. So it's a fusion, like a VC hedge fund accelerator. So it is not a traditional summit or a conference like and we, as well as Disrupted, we have different verticals. We have Disrupted Blog, Disrupted TV, Disrupted Radio, Disrupted Magazine. So we have our media powerhouse that we integrate and collaborate, Disrupted News as well. that we integrate with almost every major tech conference from LA to Tokyo. You will find us there as media partners, as community partners, as PR partners, bringing a lot of the speakers and the investors and the other media partners that you see on almost every single major tech event around the globe. But our main thing, which is disrupted.net, and this is one of the few times, like two, three times that I speak about it, because I'm with you on the show and I know you very well. We are very good friends, so I would just talk freely about it. Like in Disrupted, we host it only once a year, and we start actually the
Exactly.
process
But
three
attention,
months is
we are showing it and recording it.
okay. No problem. It will be for you and for your audience. No
Okay,
problem.
perfect, perfect.
Yeah, yeah. So we actually start the process 3 months before the summit.
Yeah,
So, and we keep the deal flow and the follow up and the support 3 months is after the summit.
yeah, that's
So
pretty.
that's why we do it only once a year.
Mm.
We cannot afford to do it two, three, four, five, 6 times a year because it's a lot of commitment. So 3 months is before the summit, up to 1 month before the summit, we do all the lead generations for investors. We do the investor relations. We do the term sheets and
Mm.
all the uh, fundraising efforts and the investor relations with the startups, which we call them enablers because they enable our or sponsor in the traditional way our summit and make it happen, as
Mm.
well as investors who are raising for their next funds or raising for their portfolio startups. We do all of this before the summit and put everyone together and they start having conversations and connections and communication together. And then we fly everyone in for
Mm.
3 nights and 2 days of this summit that we have all the curated. We are very skeptical with who we select there because we don't sell tickets. There is no tickets. There is no registration. It is not an
Okay.
exhibition.
Yeah.
Yeah, there are only less than 200 people in the room, and they are only the decision makers, investors, governments, corporate VCs, industry leaders, and the startups and the scale-ups and solution providers. So they can meet after they have had conversations and introductions with each other. They come to the summit to meet face to face and have the discussions and the meetings and to secure partnerships, write checks, finalize deals, and as well, industry leaders, startups, they present this solutions and they even industry leaders, corporates, and industry practitioners, they deliver master classes as well because we
Mm.
don't have this kind of traditional talks. No, we always make it mandatory that every speaker on the stage of Disrupted has to tackle a topic that will provide value and can be CPD accredited and accepted by other universities or corporates or employers.
Mm.
So we get, for example, like huge, big names from funds. I don't want to name some of them, but some of the biggest funds to deliver master classes on SPACs, how a SPAC work and how to do a
Yeah.
SPAC. And actually, they describe a real SPAC they are doing. So one of the deals that they are working on listing it on the Nasdaq. We get another fund to provide a masterclass on how to value a startup. We get another fund to provide a masterclass on how to do due diligence for investors and for startups. We get, for example, a big management consulting firm to deliver a masterclass about how to create an MVP, how to
Mm.
do a product market fit,
Yeah.
how to do smart contract auditing, SaaS security, so software as a service security for your SaaS project management, scheduling, hybrid project management, digital transformation. So these are the master classes that get delivered on the Disrupted stage. And for the talks, what we call it Disrupted talks, is that we put industry leaders from the same field to discuss the taxation, business setup, uh,
Mm.
the um, the things that the startups really wants to know about. How to set up their business in different jurisdictions. What are the tax treatment of this? What are the ups and downs? And like legal advice, technical advice, business advice, marketing advice. We even host the organizers and the hosts of the top and the biggest events on the world on one stage under one roof. We are the only place that all the other big events come to speak about their events at
Yeah.
our event, and they even discuss what makes a good event. They can get in touch with the other startups, so even startups can meet all the other top global event organizers and hosts directly face to face and discuss with them. Maybe they would love to go to their events. We bring all the media leaders like Forbes, like CTEM, like Block Ties, like Cointelegraph, like a lot of media. We bring the editors in chiefs and the contributors and the columnists and journalists and authors and editors to discuss how to do a very good PR strategy, where to go, what are the best practices, how do you budget it within your startup budget. And this is what happens like within Disrupted for 2 days and the 3 nights. Everybody's staying at the same venue, at the same place, at the same hotel. We throw like a kickoff soiree for everybody to break the ice before the summit starts, and then a gala dinner after this where everybody continue the talk, and then a closing soiree where everybody like get to say goodbye and have good clinging the glasses and drinks together. So it's yeah. And then after the summit for 3 months, we do the follow up on the deals and the conversations, and sometimes we do small gatherings and meetups where we bring everybody again after a month or two or
That's a
three
good
to
idea.
meet again and follow up on the discussions they had. And while these 2 3 months after the summit, we actually do a lot of press releases and news for all the startups and the sponsors on all the press news like MarketWatch, Benzinga, CNBC, USA Today,
Mhm.
Fox News. We put all the news for them globally for hundreds of millions of readers and viewers, not about us, about them.
Yeah,
So this is why we
that is
call it
cool.
a fusion of a VC accelerator and a hedge fund together in a summit like or a socially networking way. So it's like you're having your own investment bank and your own media powerhouse as a startup or an investor in a socially networking way. And
Where
you come
where
and you
do you
see
hold
it
it?
how it happens.
You hold it in Dubai, right?
We are holding it in Dubai this year, yes, Disrupted 2023. Next year, 2024, we don't still didn't. Maybe we will do it outside of Dubai. But yeah, the Disrupted 2023 is gonna be in Dubai.
Yeah, and if somebody of our listeners wants to be part, what should they do? Call you?
Well, if they want to be part, we're actually look. We're not hiding, but we are like we always try to keep it quiet. So you will never hear about it until it's already done. So you will read the news about what happened already after it happens.
So it is,
But
and
for people,
as I know you, and you are more inviting people, then they can apply,
yeah,
right?
they can go to this website disrupted.net.
Yeah.
So it's disrupted without the vowels. So as you see, like you will never find us unless you know us personally. So or you deal with us, you're one of our partners or collaborators. So dsrptd.net/2023.
Yeah, cool.
They will
Yeah.
find all the information about it, and only tell the people that you trust and you love. Don't tell your enemies about it.
Yeah, I know. I know. Yeah, cool. Yeah, thank you for your input.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
I'm
Thank you
looking
for
forward
having
to see
me.
you in person again. Hmm?
Hopefully, in a couple of weeks, I'll be in Europe, and we should definitely catch up.
You will be in Italy, I guess, right?
Gonna be in Amsterdam.
When?
Well, in a couple of weeks, I just need to figure out my time and my
Mm.
schedule here in Dubai, and maybe first or second week of August, I'll be in Amsterdam. And for sure, I want to pass by Berlin as well.
Yeah.
So for sure, let's keep in touch and organize it. We should catch up for sure.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Looking forward. So thank you.
Looking forward. Welcome.
Let's do a photo. I didn't do one. I know that the
Okay.
guys are doing photos in the metaverse, but so I let you go.
Done.
Thanks a
Dada. Thank you so
lot.
much.
Bye bye.
Goodbye.
Hannes.
Wait, who eat me?
Yeah, you. Also
Oh,
du.
hi.
Hi.
What's
Where are you right now, actually?
Just by nearby LA.
Oh yeah, so it's really in the morning. It's like 7, 6.
6.
But
Yeah, I know.
as I know you, then you do your yoga in the morning and meditation and to start the day. Anyhow,
Kind of, yeah, a little bit later usually. Not at 6, but I do think Brian from Expert Dojo, he's like usually up at 3, right, or 4. I think I
uh,
called earlier than that.
I got the feeling he never sleeps. You?
Or that, yes. It's one or the other. That's true.
He comes also in later
Oh,
after
nice.
you.
Yeah, I saw that. I was like, wow, this is pretty late for Brian, but um, what an honor to even like speak earlier than him.
Yeah, you
Already.
won. You made it. You won. So
Yeah.
let's see when he's coming in. 3. It's already 3 after you. So we can have a little short chat with him. Also, cool.
Yes.
But
That will
then
be.
and then I will leave and go for Aperol Spritz. It's Friday. Because I'm in Berlin. It's afternoon.
Oh yes, no, that's like, and there's probably going to be a lot of parties, right? Because of Fashion Week.
End of Fashion Week. I think this ended yesterday. I think now Friday everybody's relaxing. Too much party already.
Yeah, probably already like still in the club or something. At
But
least if
can I
it.
ask you something? You as a founder, I mean, you're already online, right? The people are doing photos from us in the Berlin Metaverse, so you can say, "Hey."
Oh hi.
We don't see them, but I sent you photos afterwards how we've been seen, and we also recorded so that you can have the video also. Um, as you founded Breathing AI, is do you live like that also? Like for everyone, how did you have the I know your inspiration, but maybe everybody else is interested. And do you live like that really? Like every morning you do meditation and things like that?
I mean, usually when I wake up, for me, it just became normal that like I started to become aware of my breathing then. Uh, so then I kind of like just become aware of my breathing slowly and deepen my breathing, and that's super helpful. Just like first thing in the morning, um, just becoming aware of my breathing and deepening it, because oftentimes um, during the day, my breathing used to be way too shallow. So what
Mm.
helps me a lot is just like to deepen my breathing, and then that is already kind of like a meditation in itself, and then so then I keep that breathing awareness usually for the rest of my day, like as like a second awareness. And that's, I for instance, when I lived in Berlin, I didn't really have that, so I started that way, and that's, I can't even avoid that because it's just part of my awareness, and I love it because it helps me to to be present, to feel better right away, and
Yeah.
then throughout the day it's always there to help me to energize more
Did
and
you
not.
have you been a founder already before and came your inspiration from that?
No, when I was in Berlin, I was a creative, a researcher. I had like a patent before that, but like a machine learning patent. So I didn't found, this is my first time I was founding. My business partner founded multiple businesses before, but yeah, I started it first
Yeah.
on my own, and yeah, are you first time founder?
I founded different companies like fashion labels, kindergartens, whatever.
Oh wow,
But
cool.
my first time tech founder, yes, that's
Oh
true.
okay,
Yeah,
nice. I
no, I
work with
was
kids.
never.
I think
At least
that's
I was never employed.
what.
I was never employed. I think.
Oh yeah, no, me neither. But when you said kindergarten, I think that's almost like the hardest job. Whenever I work with kids.
But I studied that before. I studied Kunst und Sport auf Lehramt. What nobody
Oh,
knows now, everybody knows. Hey.
nice. One of the toughest jobs I did was like guiding kids with meditation and yoga. It's one of the toughest jobs
Ooh, it's.
getting
Mm,
kids to be quiet and silent for the ones who have kids is almost one of the toughest jobs, because they, talking about like the title also of the talk I give, like sense of wonder. Like kids always want to have the sense of wonder, and if they get bored, then they just like move on. And so it doesn't matter if you guide them yoga or something else, like if it's not
indeed.
entertaining, they're just going to walk away from the yoga mat.
Yeah.
So I was always thinking like, oh my god, kids and yoga.
Yeah. Yeah,
But
when I studied sports, I was 19. and art, like for teaching kids. I noticed that as a teacher, you are like an entertainer and always moving, like
Oh yeah.
everything works. So I decided not to do that, as you see.
Oh, teachers.
But I can, but when I can imagine in a group, it is like that. But I know that my daughter, she's 13, she enjoys it.
Yeah.
And my son too, he's 9. But only the two of us or with one alone.
They like yoga, you mean, or
Like meditation or things like
really?
that. Yeah. There are kids yoga and kids meditation.
And you do it with them, or they just do it by themselves and are entertained?
Yeah, a friend of mine is doing this with my daughter. And uh, yeah, sometimes when I notice there are a lot of over the top, and yeah, then I sometimes have a look for videos in YouTube and I do it with them, but not very often. And no regularly in the morning we wake up and do that. Maybe it would be good, or in the
Mhm.
evening, but sometimes only.
Oh, okay. Wow, that's so cool. Nice. I mean, at the early age, I always think about, the earlier you do something, the more you train your brain about it.
Mm,
I mean, it goes a little bit also what we're doing in our tech, but if you do something at an earlier age, if like 1 hour for, a 1-year-old just of lifetime is just, if you're like 30, then that's like 30 times less the impact because you already had so many hours. So if
yeah.
you do something at an earlier age, it has so much more, it's so much more novelty, and the time is almost, it's so I feel like when kids do something for 10 minutes, it's as much, it's as much time for them as if we would do something for an hour. So what
That's
we
true.
do with our company also, when we have this technology integrated into everybody's, into the screen time, it's because we have so much screen time, and then you can basically help people during the entire screen time, maintain this, like, getting a little break, getting the sense of wonder again, and resetting, versus, like, trying to, like, have like 8-10 hours of screen time and stress. I don't know how it is in Berlin. In America that's almost like average now. And then doing, complementing that, or like compensating that with, half an hour of yoga or an hour of yoga, but you accumulate so much stress or the
Mm.
stressful screen time that, so
I have
that's,
one question. I'm not doing that as that much. I'm long distance runner.
oh wow.
I did also marathon with inlines and inline skates. What do you think? Is this comparable if I run and just going the same and this island and
I mean, I personally find running is like torture. Because
but you remember I
yeah,
studied
I have,
sports.
what?
You remember I studied sports, so I really love it.
I know, but I think if I would have studied sport, I think, you can always like throw a ball down the street and I will run after it forever, because I love basketball and football and
Mm,
stuff. Uh, but I don't know, just like running by itself, I feel like at a certain point there's a pain, and then I was like, why am I doing this? Why am I running? But I do have friends who swear on running, and they're ultra marathon runners. I think one of them actually ran for a few days straight
mm,
with just basically napping in the desert and stuff. And he always said, if you it's so much also about like meditation and breathing,
yeah,
because you need to maintain kind of your breathing pattern and
yes.
keep your breathing pattern through, ideally calm, ideally through the nose, and not lose that, and not get into this like mode
Yeah,
through the
you
mouth and
come, yeah,
fast, which is like
it's
fight or
true.
flight.
It's true, and you come automatically in this same pattern, and then you start a little bit like that, and then you're coming in this pattern. You could run for hours. The same moves of your body in the same breathing pattern.
Without somebody dangling a basketball or a football in front of your face, just
Mm,
running.
just
Okay.
running. Or I started some years ago with inline skating.
Okay.
This is the same also for hours. Can do this. We have this Tempelhofer Feld in Berlin, and then you have
Ah,
even this without any houses, and then you go. It's pretty
oh,
cool.
nice. Oh yeah, I've
Okay,
seen
now
that.
I let you go because then Brian is jumping in, and then we have
Wait,
actually.
Brian is in already?
Hmm?
Brian is in now?
No, 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 no. I don't think so. I think he comes in at 3:30.
Yeah.
So, and you wanted to have like a speech, right? Or not? Or should we just talk?
We can continue this. I mean, like, what time is it now? Is it
We
isn't
have like 20. We have like 20 minutes left. We could go further with questions, but I found actually also interesting. You could
Yeah,
also
yeah. I
see
mean,
some.
I love a conversational, because I didn't want to give like a boring tech talk with like
Yeah, no.
So
But
it's
it's
always
also interesting, a pet tech talk. No, but
yeah.
I love
I don't
also
know
this
the audience.
conversation.
Fashion Week, Universe. I don't know what like if I just talk about AI and my journey to the startup, whatever. Maybe people like
Yeah, that's
I
true.
want to go
Yeah, we
weekend.
talked, we had actually on site we did also physical event at Station Berlin. And we started with the theme technology and investment. And then we had AI also. And I brought two female founders in AI also on stage, and a fashion company which is using AI. That was quite interesting. Yeah, what do you think? Did the new development of generative AI, and it's more common now for everybody, is this also helpful for you, or is this doesn't, or
Yeah.
how is it?
I mean, it's crazy how it just it saves people time, right? Just like you don't have to like write stuff, and it's a bit like weird because we don't. Sometimes I get emails, and I'm not really sure if they are like generated by something or not. But I do think. I mean, I don't use it for emails yet, but I've been using it for like posts sometimes, not LinkedIn posts, but sometimes just to write like descriptions of stuff, and I think it saves so much time. Also, our marketing team. I don't know how it is for you, but if you have like a description
Totally.
of something and then it's grammatically correct and it uses maybe certain buzzwords if you put that in and stuff, and that's kind of crazy the amount of time it saves people. And so yeah, I think I've been using it, but like the tricky part is like, can you actually, when everything is so predictable, and how do you actually maintain that kind of authenticity as a brand or also as an individual, right? Like when everything is so can be so predicted, and you can't even predict anymore if it's human or created by technology. So that's like an interesting question, and I wonder like if if people develop like that kind of like sense for if it's actually AI generated or human, can we ever make a discernment with the
But
current
I
or something?
mean, I mean,
Right?
it's super helpful for we, especially right now when we organize the conference with all the texts and everything. It was super
Yeah,
helpful.
it
But I
was.
meant more now for breathing AI. I mean, in our experience, when we talked about it, AI before, it was always a little bit not. We did a lot of education. How is it for breathing AI? Do you have more
True.
needs
Yeah.
suddenly, and suddenly everybody thinks, "Oh, AI, use that," or
Yeah, no, I mean, for us, it's also like we're doing like like a little bit of rebranding right now or more. So it depends, but it is, when I say breathing AI, oftentimes people think like, oh, it's about breathing and AI, but there's so much more to what we're doing. So and then also you probably saw that, AI. I mean, I think usually, especially in Northern Europe and Germany, there's like a lot of concerns about like AI,
Mm,
use of
that's what I
privacy
mean.
data. Yeah, and then and then with Google using AI so much, and Google is like definitely not like the best player in the market in a way. That's a bit scary. Whereas it's like Apple, they tried in their last announcement entirely avoid AI. So you see like the difference of like big tech companies using that terminology and that those kind of like pre notions on of it. So we also like are making some conscious decision around that, because I mean I have like three global machine learning patents now. So but are people really interested if we have like machine learning patents and everything is like
We had the same conversation. I mean, we
yeah,
have different stakeholder, right? We have investors, they are really now focused on AI, and then we have the consumer. I mean, actually, on the consumer, the brands who are working with us, should they know that's AI?
exactly,
Why
yes,
it's not just generating something or
yeah.
helping them to modify designs faster? We had the
Hmm.
same conversation actually. How
Yeah.
to work with that?
Yeah, and you can pitch it to investors still, or like people who are interested in supporting it, and or if you do like grant applications. I mean, in our case, we have like NSF, SBAR, and stuff like that, NIH. Then you pitch it, because it's a novel technology, and they don't really have prejudice. They just want to develop support like something novel in the industry, and it's great when it's about well-being, like in our case. But in general, I think the audience, they're definitely, and then in our case, we also sometimes use like for certain purposes like the webcam and AI. And it's like, wait, I got to give access to webcam and AI now, and AI can do so much with it and predict me and everything. And there's a lot of legitimate concerns, I mean,
Yeah,
and there's a lot of misuse of private data in the industry. So how can I actually trust this company now? And then there's so much education you need to do sometimes to earn that trust, and then over time, you know
yeah,
um, make sure that like it is properly encrypted and show them that you don't get hacked and all this stuff. That's definitely a challenge. And I mean, but it's kind of interesting to see how people let their guards down when they like ChatGPT, and then I'm sure there's all kinds of like, people share anything on there just to get like better information and feedback. But with Facebook too, right? People were skeptical, and then Facebook knows more about them than they can probably remember themselves about their life. And Facebook sells the data. I don't know what OpenAI does with all our data.
Yeah, that's true.
Kind of
I mean, we asked some so random questions. I mean, what should they do with that? But well.
I'm sure. Yeah, I mean, that's maybe you and I for the business, but I do think there's like a lot of people that ask all kinds of like questions about how they should respond to certain social interpersonal dynamics and
Yeah, that's true. You're right. So you mean you're trying kind of get letting AI a little bit go in the consumer conversation, so it's not all AI focused?
I mean, for us, we're trying to probably shy away from using it that much, and I also, having worked in research and with top researchers on AI and ML and machine learning patterns, I do think like there's very few instances where it's actually ML, and AI is really just like a big buzzword for me, to be honest, a little bit, because I know it wasn't, because like true artificial intelligence is still like another level in a
Yeah,
way.
I know.
And
But
it's like machine learning.
there's this conversation when people talk and say, generative AI and real AI.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
We do that even too.
What did you
We
say?
do this even too. You mean we even say call it real? It's like difference. I mean,
Yeah, no. So that's why I feel like if it would be true AI in a way, artificial intelligence, the world would be very, very creepy, probably, because so many things could already be automated, and humans don't have to do that much, which is probably good in a way, but you also don't know actually what it's going to do. That's probably a legitimate concern. Like right now, Google doesn't even know why some of the machine learning models are learning certain languages they're not taught, and they're self-teaching each other, maybe languages they can talk to each other or whatever, those systems.
oh
So
wow. Yeah, I didn't hear that. This is interesting. We have been doing Berlin Fashion Week. We have been on a panel, listening to a panel discussion, my CTO and me, Stephen. And there was one person saying that through AI in some years everything will be the same. What do you think? That will like, how is it called?
I mean, it's always tricky to say these things when there's human nature, because humans are so unpredictable, by nature. So I feel like if like humans always find a way to kind of still, I mean, same with kids, right? You don't want to get bored in your life. So how can we actually maintain that kind of sense of wonder and honest in a way, like being in awe of the world? Like, and I do think people will seek that more when they think everything becomes predictable. Then you just go to certain things that make you feel. Why do people go to Disneyland or Disney World, right? It's always just like with their kids, and sometimes it's just adults, right? Just to feel like being shocked, being surprised, all those things. And maybe AI ML can do that for us, and the world doesn't become that boring. But I do think that's something that we can probably, as humans, maybe more creative. But even if I don't
Yes,
think
that's
it's
what I am always saying.
or maybe if AI and ML can do that, then still, I don't think it's going to be a boring world and everything we'll be saying, because the preferences of each humans are so individual and so different. So I do think it's probably going to be, I don't know, maybe more exciting. But I mean, for the ones who probably develop a sense for that and who grew up without it, and I mean, I grew up in nature, right? Like there was like we had like a phone with a cable when I grew up, and like in the village, and my parents didn't want me to have a screen. So for me,
Same
it's
here.
like, yeah, for me, it's always like when I see a lot of text, and I'm just like get bored sometimes easily, because it's not as wholesome as rich in information for all the senses than other things. But if you didn't grow up that way, then it's like when I moved to Berlin and did my social service there, I remember that one kid said, "Oh, are we going where there are no trees?" Because it was like a nature trip outside of Berlin. And then I realized, like, oh wait, there are like kids that don't grow up in nature. They don't have actually like a term for trees or nature oftentimes, because they haven't seen it much, except for a little bit in the park or a tree. And that made me really, they're probably more if AI would like imitate nature and stuff like that, maybe for them it's it's like
Yeah,
more
that's
interesting,
true.
but they've never seen it.
Yeah, that's true. I think they talked more about fashion, that fashion will be all the same. But I
The
don't think,
fashion.
I mean, look at us. I'm wearing white and what are we wearing? I say always when I do a speech and somebody's saying that, and I say, look around, we are already all the same.
Well, in
Everybody's
New
wearing
York,
black, white, or gray and blue
maybe I don't know. In New York, most people wear black, but I do think here in California right now, it's
colors.
very different. But there's probably like styles also. I think that was before AI. Like if you go to Oregon, people have more similar style. If you go to LA, like the clothes are more like loose. In New York, it's more like black and
Yeah,
like
that's true.
tight and um. But yeah, I don't know how AI might reinforce all those things. Like for me, with breathing AI, or however, if we're rebranding, the focus is always just creating that mind body connection. So
Mm,
because I do think like a lot of like the stuff we're thinking in our mind is could be easily predictable, even though there's like such a vast universe in our head of connections. I do think like AI and ML can definitely, based on our preferences and on enough
totally.
data, can so much predict and show us things that, regarding fashion that might interest us or other things. But I do think if we actually like tie in, all the senses we have in our body, like just interoception, being aware of, or on breathing or heart rate or just our body, that's, those are different senses in a way than the ones we have. So we have way more than five senses, and just scientifically, right? So interoception, others. So if we actually use AI for those purposes and help people feel, um, have more of those connections, I think there's like additional universes of perception opening up, and I think that probably will extend to like then, being interested in different types of fashion, of colors, of
Yeah.
authenticity, of like presenting ourselves. But that, I'm just guessing in a way, but that's why I'm doing this, because I do think that mind body connection, opening up to different senses, feeling ourselves more, I think that is that opens up so many doors, and we become probably less predictable ourselves, and maintain more of a sense of like being alive, being in awe of everything, and then the AI can't like predict our mind and our cognitive processes that easily, hopefully. But it's my
That's true. It's actually interesting that you say this because I'm focusing that designers have an easier work and we get better designs with higher quality and sell better. So we don't have that
Mm.
much overstock. And you're right, this should be in the focus and not AI because actually it's not the focus.
The AI, yeah. But I mean, it's also like with different shareholders, right? If you talk to your investors, they probably want to know that you use the latest tech, so you can,
Yeah.
outcompete others, or that you're the best in the market and stuff. So it's always maybe some, I don't know how it is in Berlin, but maybe some people want to know that it's AI created or something, and it's
Yeah.
something cool and novel that human, that AI comes up, because AI has access to so much more information. OpenAI,
Yeah.
right? Like there's like in the moment they can run so much computing and processing power, so that maybe it is more interesting for some people. Um,
That's true.
yeah.
I just
How how
wrote that I come later to my after work drink.
that's what?
I wanted to go afterwards to drink Aperol. Did I talk with you about it or with Ahmed?
No, 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 with me, no.
Yeah, because I'm planning today after this week to drink Aperol Spritz and don't work.
Don't work. Yeah, nice.
Don't
Aperol
work.
Spritz. I think that was a thing when I was in Berlin, and that was 15. Well, a little bit less than 15 years ago the last time. But Aperol Spritz was still a thing there.
Yeah, it's
That's
still
so
a
cool.
thing.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
still a
awesome.
thing.
And like Tempelhof, that's so cool. I saw that when that got opened up. I was in Berlin when that was still like a um, airport, and then shortly after it's like it became like a garden and stuff. That's so
Yeah, I
beautiful.
actually, you know what? I came to Berlin, or I moved into my flat, and the airport Tempelhof was still running with smaller airplanes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Wait, when was that?
2008.
2008. Oh wow. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Nice.
Oh, Brian is
Nice.
here. I just see
Hey
it.
Brian.
Let him in, Ines. Let him in. Hey, hey,
Brian.
hey.
Good
He's
morning.
here. Good morning.
I'm in Orange County, Santa Ana.
He
We can
cannot
see
hear
you,
us.
Brian. Your video's on.
Morning.
Morning.
But can you hear us?
I hear you perfectly. Hey, Anna.
Hi.
Hey, Hannes. How are you?
Good, good.
I
Good to
would
see you.
only do this for Anna at 6:30 in the morning when I
Thank you. Thank you.
Vegas like 6 hours ago. Only for Anna. Nobody else.
Thank you. Thank
Same
you.
here, Brian. It's also 6:24 for me here.
Yeah.
Nice.
And we have been actually we've been thinking, why is Hannes here before you? Because you're
Yeah.
normally the early bird.
I knew you were coming down to LA. Are you down in LA, Hannes?
I'm in Santa Ana, but I'm coming up to LA soon. Yes.
Ah, very good. Yeah, and then so I got three folks for you, and I got Taisa who'll jump in after me. Who's on next, by the way?
Yeah, you. I had just a talk with Hannes, and then we will leave you, and then you just the stage is yours, and then you can just yeah. But we have 5 minutes left, and then the team is in the metaverse also filming you, and will be recorded, and then you can use it, and we have pictures in the metaverse talking. So
Fantastic. I listen. I was destined to be part of fashion. This is my moment. This is my. I'm stepping into the limelight where finally Brian looks good. Off. I'll stand there saying, "Hey, everybody."
yeah, you should have but you should wear just the only black shirt with
I got my dojo black shirt.
yeah. I see that.
Yes, it's the only thing I wear. Come on, you know this.
Yeah. You're right. I just was talking a bit with Hannes about the AI thing and all the hype, and that actually our product is AI, but how should we talk about AI to the customer and to the different stakeholders? Yeah.
I will tell you. Nobody look. The difference between hype and like impact are two different things. Like AI itself, nobody cares about. They just care about what's the impact of AI. And right now,
Yes.
everybody's fixated with the fact that like they can just ask ChatGPT to do something, that they could have easily done themselves before, and it sounds a little bit more generic. But is it going to facilitate easier fundraising? It's going to make it a lot easier because people are putting money in there. So yeah, I think it's really good. I think it's fine.
Yeah.
But it's a funny world we're living in right now. Like everything is just about trajectory. You show trajectory, and there's
Yeah,
it's a
that's
good
true.
thing. But we're overdue a chat anyway. We should have a chat. And I'm just going to do like 30 minutes, Anna, right? And then
Yeah.
I still
Yeah.
can do 30 minutes, and I'll just do what I usually do and just talk, a lot of gibberish.
Yeah. We don't do that,
I'm
Brian.
going to the
Sorry.
US also in next week, but to Atlanta, to this other side,
Yeah. What are you doing there?
holidays
Oh, nice.
with the
Although it's
kids.
weird. Yeah, okay. Although it's not the place that people normally go to for holidays, but
No, I call you later and tell you why.
there's got to be a reason.
I don't want to talk about it here where everybody could listen.
Okay, so quick tips of what you want me to do. What should I do? How should I move and not move and do anything? Or does it matter? Just stand there and talk.
You can just talk. I mean, we would leave now in 2 minutes, and we let you talk, and then I will leave the office and come in maybe with my phone again because I have to leave. And then you can just tell the 3 upcoming pitches. They pitch, right?
No, there's no pitching. There's
But-
like I'm talking about like the metaverse and like and about and about startups and innovation and things that are happening. And then Tyson, who's one of my colleagues, is going to come in and she's going to talk about later stage and what's happening within investments in the metaverse. And then the company that are coming in are one of the top. This guy has exited 5 or 6 companies.
Oh wow, interesting, cool.
Two,
Thank you.
two of them for $1 billion.
Love
And
it.
so he's just going to come in, but he's a CTO and he's a co-founder and CTO in all these companies. So look, he's just going to come in. So look, it was last minute, so I just lined these people up. So my pieces. I'm just going to keep talking until 7:30, and then
Yeah.
at 7:30, how will I know to finish? Like, how will I know that the next person?
I
is
would
ready?
you can just when you finish. Ines is here. She will write something, but I think you can just finish and say thank you. I'm coming in also, I guess. But you can just finish and say thanks for everyone to talk, and then you go out. I guess. Ines, what are you saying? Let's see what she's writing.
Maybe I can do a little pitch before I end it here.
Yeah, of course.
Actually, like metaverse is a good transition because I started the tech on this in 2014 with a project called Metaverses. It was 2014 at the University of Oregon, and then we built out the technology to what images will people like the most regarding their vital signs, their heart rate, their breathing patterns, and then research wasn't enough, and then we built breathing AI. And so now for anyone watching, we have a browser extension out, and we're selling it to businesses with like analytics, detailed analytics about engagement. We have by far the highest engagement because it just runs automatically when people work on a browser. Just gives them little reminders to take a break, color filters to reduce stress by up to 50%, 11% in productivity. So it's very simple. It's a one-click installation with OAuth, just breathing AI. Everyone can try it for free right now. And we're adding a lot of exciting ML features the next few months. So we're looking forward to that. And I was curious to hear anyone's feedback. If they're trying it out, please let us know. Yeah, we have a lot of stuff right now coming up, and very grateful for Brian, Expert Dojo's support as investors, and good luck in Berlin, AI. So exciting to hear about everything, and super curious about why Georgia, Atlanta. Maybe you can tell me too.
Now you're all curious. You all.
I actually, Anna, before you let Hans go, I just want to add in there, like stress and anxiety in general is the greatest epidemic that's facing the world today. Everybody has too many things to do. Like just there's, and when we talk about AI and we talk about the metaverse and we talk about digital, but it's one more thing for people to think about and focus on, and it's incredibly difficult. And so if people are not conscious about their health and conscious about taking care of themselves online and offline, then their health will take care of them. And so what I'm talking about is not a small thing. It's maybe one of the biggest necessities that is required in the digital universes anywhere.
So
for the next like 10, 15 years.
Yeah, just thinking about like, people spend like humanity spends like 50 billion hours on the screen, probably more than looking at each other or in nature and everything. And there's so much stress and burnout, it's like, and but there's so much opportunity for us because we are working on the screen. When somebody is on the screen, ours runs in the background and helps them to, detect, when are they getting stressed? When do they need a break? Are they having fatigue? And so that's, for us, that's a very novel. So I almost think like we're like kind of like blue ocean, right? Because it's like a novel. The whole screen time, all the competitors offering something in addition to the screen time, you have additional tasks. So our first clients, they all say, oh, you don't put more burden on my employees to reduce stress. You make it easier for them while they're working. So and for anyone using screens, we'll make it easier for all of you to create healthier habits and to not reach that stage of burnout and fatigue. To just have a much better screen time, a healthier one. So thanks, Brian, for that. Stress, burnout, huge epidemic.
How can people start looking at this? Because I don't even think it's about self-help. I think it's about just being aware of other people that are facing potential problems and challenges with life and being able to point them out.
Yeah, it's just breathing AI. There's a link to our browser extension, and then we're having more like products coming up soon, web app, but we're also integrating more into our browser extension, and we're also on the Chrome Web Store, so it runs on Microsoft Edge, on Brave browser, on Chrome, on I think Firefox too. If you like use that link from the Chrome Web Store to install it, it's a one-click installation, and then it just easily runs. And then in that product, in that browser extension, we're adding more and more machine learning features as well, and then soon we'll have a web app out too. And it's super simple. It's usually just like one click, and then you install it, and then it runs on your browser, and then you can personalize it if you want to. Otherwise, you can let it run and take care of your helping your screen time.
Can I make a suggestion? Because we're on now, that maybe we'll start the show the way that we started by actually giving people some breathing exercises.
Oh yes,
ready for the day. Like, come on, we don't.
Nice, yes.
We'll do it.
Okay, let's do it. Like real quick, because I know it's Brian's time, but
no, this
is our time. It's all good.
Yes.
Yeah. So the one thing is like, I would say like it's 23,000 breaths we're taking a day, but we should take actually only more like 8 to 10,000 because we're breathing way too shallow. Oftentimes it starts when we wake up. We're breathing here, but actually, like we should breathe through our belly first. So one, like for, this breathing exercise I like to ask anyone on the screen: allow yourself to have a six-pack free zone. This is a six-pack free zone, so allow yourself to have the biggest belly you can, because oftentimes we're trying to tense up so much, and so much about is like letting go, physically and just in general in life. So allow yourself to have, you know, a stress-free belly, no tension there. Like, allow it to expand and tap into that. You know, for the ones who have kids, you all know, like, babies only breathe through their belly, so we all were like belly breathing masters, and that's, you know, creates so much like health. So try to become aware of your breathing. Maybe close your eyes. I highly recommend to close your eyes, and just to allow yourself to step into a different universe now of your inner universe, and just allowing yourself with closed eyes to sense how you're breathing. You're placing one hand on your belly, one hand on your chest, and just noticing your breathing. Are you breathing through your chest only or through your belly? Just already slowing down your breathing. Be sensing, if you can, on the start of the inhale, expand your belly first, then your upper belly, your chest, to have a really wholesome, deep inhale, ideally through the nose. Then maybe just taking a few letting go
Do
exhales.
the avatars also breathe like that? Is
What?
this possible? Do the avatars in the metaverse also breathe like that?
Yes, please. Please, everybody just expands their belly and
Sorry. Sorry.
and then just a letting go exhale. And maybe let's do like a few of these. Just like a really deep inhale. Maybe moving the shoulders up to our ears. And then letting go exhale, dropping the shoulders, dropping any tension. A few more like this, a really slow, deep inhale. Adding a smile creates so-called happy hormones. And just a letting go exhale. Two more like this, a really slow, deep inhale. And just a letting go exhale. Now the next inhale should be the deepest inhale you've ever taken. So try to expand your whole body, your whole torso like a balloon, the deepest and longest inhale. Really energizing each part of your body with oxygen. Breathing in even more. And then just a letting go exhale, dropping any tension. And that really makes a big difference, just slowing down our breathing. You can open your eyes again, but just like the studies that say like 5.5 seconds long inhales or exhale, which is like 11 inhale exhale per 11 breaths per minute, is like way better. And we take about 30 or something per minute, or 20, and sometimes like 20 to 30. A lot of people when they're stressed. So slowing down our breathing, tapping into a belly breathing, taking a letting go exhale or a really long soothing exhale, does magic literally for our whole nervous system and wellness, and our sense of wonder. We're like there, like, wait, what's going on, what can I do, versus like being stuck in like the same old thought pattern sometimes, or hustle bustle. So that's very simple tricks, and work with Wim Hof for many years and other experts. So there's a lot we share with Breathing AI too on our extension. If you just go on there, like there's a whole breaks library with different breaks and just very simple techniques that help you reset yourself and re-energize yourself.
Good. Thank you, Brian. Do you know? Thank you, Hannes. You too.
Now I'm ready. Yes. Okay.
Perfect.
Shall we begin?
We can begin. I leave you also. Thanks, Brian.
Thanks a lot, Brian. I'll see you soon in LA.
Thanks, Hannes.
Oh,
See you soon.
Thank you.
Bye. Okay, everybody. Let me do a little bit of an introduction, and then I am hoping that over the next 30 minutes or so, I can enlighten you as to innovation and investment in the metaverse, in digital worlds, and how you can build out your own metaverse and virtual worlds by people that I'll be bringing in afterwards. So firstly, by way of an introduction, my name is Brian McMahon. I am the founder of a company called Expert Dojo. Now, Expert Dojo is an investor, an accelerator, and a venture capitalist based out of California. Now, as many people will maybe be able to tell, I am not originally from California. I am an Irish person who is a transplant into California after living in many, many countries around the world, and with this fixation on innovation. And that's what I love. It's what I wake up every day and that I look at, and I want to make sure that I can help be a part of driving innovation around the world. My fixation on innovation became so strong that I and my partner started to invest through Expert Dojo into companies that we felt were doing incredible things around the world. And at the beginning, It wasn't so much digitally or crypto or blockchain or metaverses. It was just into great innovative companies. And so, even with Anna and with Yunya, like we've invested in that company. With Hannes, who was just on a moment there, we've invested in that company as well. So we take companies that we believe have something which is tremendously important, and then we put an investment into those companies and help those companies evolve. And now we started out with a few companies, and over the last 4 or 5 years, we've invested in over 250 companies, making us one of the most prolific investors in the world. And the great thing about innovation is not something that starts in one place and ends right there. Innovation is something that goes across the world. So we have invested as much in Africa and India and Latin America as we have in the United States and in Europe. And so for us, it's not so much where the puck is, and it's where it's going. And that brought me to my love affair with how we were evolving digitally just as a species, and how our engagement was moving from being entirely offline to moving to being very much online. But a lot of the tools that were required for us to make sure that we were happy and content and full of purpose are, as the Japanese would say, full of ikigai. A lot of those things were not in place yet. And so we wanted to make sure that we were a part of doing it. So today I want to talk to you a little bit about, what's happening within fashion. And I want to talk to you about, what's happening more broadly on a digital basis, and that's happening, and how us as investors are actually looking at this, and as you, when you're looking to go forward, can actually see how the investment world works a little bit and get a little bit of an insight into our lives. So at the beginning, let me tell you the wonderful thing that's happening from a pure financial and an innovative perspective. And let me tell you the not so wonderful thing that's happening and kind of where we fit it into both. So the amazing thing that's happening is, as you look at early stage companies, what's the wonderful thing about an early stage company? Well, if you get very early in, you can own a piece of the Apples, the Microsofts, the Ciscos, the great companies of today that are worth not like they were before, which is, millions or hundreds of millions of dollars, but billions and even trillions of dollars. If you look at Apple are a multi-trillion-dollar company, and they are only going to get bigger. And so that has been something which has been tremendous, because not only has the amount of what are called unicorns, which are private billion-dollar plus valuations, not only has that increased by 100 times over the last 15 years around the world for the amount that are out there, but the valuation of these companies has increased in many ways 10 times every 15 to 20 years. So like the biggest companies in the world before might have been worth $200-300 billion. Now these companies are worth $2-3 trillion. And if you'd gone back to maybe the 1940s, maybe 1950s, these same companies were worth $20 billion. So you have, what's happening is the financial benefits that you can make from these companies are absolutely tremendous. At the same time, the exponential growth in innovation and technology is coming so quickly that many people are talking about this as the fourth industrial revolution. Now, earlier industrial revolutions are things like the internet, and when we started moving from analog to digital, when folks started moving from the fields into the factories, and many people will have thoughts on, like, there's always a good and a bad, right? There's a yin and a yang. There are two parts that have to go with each other. It's never as simple as saying innovation is incredible, innovation is here, we should all embrace innovation. Is that we have to look at all sides of it. But this part is incredibly interesting, because if we look at the last phase of that industrial revolution, it was when we went online. And at the beginning, I remember like the interviews with Steve Jobs, where he would say, we're going to go to a place where the internet is going to be where we are going to transact, not some of the time, but the majority of what we buy and sell. And at that time, people thought he was absolutely crazy. And look at where we are today. Now, even if we go to a shopping mall, we may look at the clothing in the shopping mall, but it's a very unusual person that walks into that shop and buys that clothing in that shop. The vast majority of the people that are there, those folks are people that are actually looking to find out what's in the shops, compare it to the other options, not just in their local city, but compare it to the options in Milan and Paris and New York and Dublin and London and everything. Like, when else in the world was that possible, where we had the democratization to be able to buy whatever we wanted to buy, wherever we wanted to buy it, and have that product shipped to us wherever we are in the world. So it opened up the entire world so we could actually buy stuff. Now, that brought good things and it brought not so good things, right? The not so good things is that, in the same way back when if we go back before internet times and we start looking at when the factories came, like, a lot of people were working in very inhumane conditions in the factory. That was a really bad outcome that came from that particular period. The good outcome was things got done quicker and easier and better, and we were able to achieve things that we wouldn't have been able to achieve. Like, if that hadn't have happened, we could never have gone to the moon, right? Which was so much later on. But all of these areas of innovation are actually tied. Now, in the current innovation transformation, we have everything moving online, or at least the last one. But what that has meant is retail has been majorly affected. And the way people interact in retail and interact in fashion will never, ever be the same again. In fashion and an investor online, the wonderful thing about what I see is that there are more and more tools every day that embrace this new world. So there are some folks that will look at the old world and say, I really liked to be able to go into my shop. I really liked the fact that I could have the interaction with our shopkeeper. And I understand that I couldn't get the choice. I couldn't get the best clothing. I couldn't get the best pricing, but actually that was a trade-off. But those folks are more and more the more silent part, because the benefits of the innovation, and for folks like me who are the investors in that innovation, the benefits financially outweigh what's happening on a huge level. So it's a different world, and it's here. And this time, it is not moving from fields to factories. It is not moving from analog to digital. It is artificial intelligence that is changing everything. And in the case of where we are today, which is in the metaverse, in the universe, from our side of it, it's about how do we use what would be called in the Terminator as robots. Like, how do we use these robots to be able to make our life easier? Is this maybe, possibly, the first time when there's been innovation in the world where actually the truth is it has made our lives easier, as opposed to giving us more things to do and more things to think about, which is making our lives more complicated? We believe it will, and we love what it's doing. And if anybody's been watching over the last 5 years or so, we've seen two waves happen. The first wave is creating these digital worlds where people who are spending 60 to 70% of their time digitally, whether it's Instagram or Facebook or something else, it's facilitating these folks to be able to become in a more immersive environment, right? Now, actually, I'm in Vegas today. And if you look, they've just created the Sphere in Vegas, which is a $2.2 billion development that they did in Vegas, which looks like it's going to be maybe one of the greatest music venues of all time. But the most important thing is it's not about just being there and actually being in the physicality of a place you can listen to music. It's about immersing yourself into the innovation that actually comes within that, so that you get a deeper feeling of what that looks like. And this has been happening over the last 5 to 10 years, where we've seen the evolution of blockchain, which has allowed for us to create, for the first time ever, proper traceability, whereby everybody can trace all of the things that we've bought and sold over the previous, well, actually, let's just say in the lifetime of that particular product. And then at the same time, we've had the ability to create digital currencies, which have taken out third parties, which many people in the crypto space would say is the absolute curse of anyone who wants to make sure that their money is handled in a way that they retain control of their money, and it's dealt with in the most seamless and simplest way possible. So from my side of it, You know, we have a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful environment whereby we've been able to create this incredible world. We're moving into the third revolution, as we say, the third industrial revolution, that's taken us from the factories. It's taken us to online. It's now taken us to these immersive worlds that are being created with artificial intelligence in these worlds that allow us to be able to do it. And then we start imagining, well, first of all, from an investment perspective, what does that mean? Because what we as investors have to look at is not where the puck is today, but where it's going in the future. So, which of these worlds are the worlds that we feel should be the ones that we should invest in? Because those ones should go future. But the second part is even more interesting is like, what are the technologies that are going to be built in these worlds that are going to facilitate, you having a better life? So, I'm going to take it back, if I can, to Anna and Yunya, and the reason that you're all here in this metaverse, because this is one of these innovations, one of these incredible innovations that has come out in the world and actually helps us create the world that we want to be in tomorrow. So when we looked at Anna, we looked at Yunya, we thought, wow, how interesting. Fashion hasn't changed in hundreds of years, maybe thousands of years, right? When people were creating clothing for tomorrow, the t-shirt that I'm wearing right here, when they created those clothing, they would put them on a storyboard. They would like color it and paint it, and they would have blacks, and then they would put this little piece in the middle, and they would create the eyes and the head and the forehead and everything. And look, what's good about that is that you have this incredible, phenomenal, beautiful design. But what's terrible about that is it's the same as people working in the fields before the factories, that it's an incredibly manual and silly way to be able to do it. Almost like the shops, when people would buy a piece of clothing in one shop just locally in their area, when there are hundreds of thousands of shops all over the world that can give better clothing, different clothing, better prices, better variety, and simpler and easier buying facilitations. And so that same thing has happened within fashion in the universe and in the beyond verse as well, whereby the people who have been drawing out these storyboards are saying, wouldn't it be wonderful if there was a digital way that we could do this that would actually facilitate us being able to do it in a way that is better for the consumer and better for us? Well, why would we not do it digitally? When doesn't it make more sense? And then we can actually create it. We put it in place. We make sure it's there. We can manipulate it. We facilitate it. We change it. We can now have a image that we can then have in any way that we want to and change. So it's very simple. And the nice thing about that is that allows then for people who are in digital worlds to be able to say, well, hang on a second, this t-shirt that Brian has that he's on in the outside world, the in real life, that t-shirt, why wouldn't we use the same t-shirt online as well? Why would we not be able to create a world where Brian's wardrobe is exactly the same in the real world as it is in the digital world? Because this is what the identity of Brian is. Why would we just give him stuff that's sitting there? So a lot of the time when these great innovations come to the world, and us as investors, we look at these innovations, they're things which are so fantastic and so phenomenal, but so simple that the world actually really needs them. And then you say to yourself, okay, so if Yunya have brought this out, and we know how important it is, both in the real world and in the digital world as well, what are the next areas that are going to happen within the metaverse that are going to be so incredibly exciting? Well, let's look at some of the metaverses that are being built. And let's look at what people are creating. They're starting with social spaces. And within social spaces, fashion is becoming tremendously important. Again, if you look at what Yunya have created here, and you look at all of these fashion worlds that they're doing, the fashion shows that are being put on, the clothing that are being watched. Now, someone like myself can watch Frankfurt Fashion Week from LA or from Las Vegas. I don't have to travel all of the way over there. Think of the environmental impact that actually will be affected and will be improved because now anybody can be with anyone else at any time in any world. And as we started out and people were creating individual worlds, and then you had some worlds that were being created like Decentraland and other worlds, which were more common worlds that people could come together in. Again, we will see a larger evolution of this. And we will see more and more tools within these worlds, which will be invested in by venture capitalists like ourselves that actually facilitate these tools to be able to grow, to get to a wider scale so that they become mature products that just seem as natural as an iPhone does today. But going back 30 years ago, a venture capitalist like ourselves looked at that iPhone and said, I want to facilitate the entry of that iPhone into the world so that the world gets a better experience. And now everybody everywhere is using their iPhones. Okay. So fast forward 10, 20, 30 years. Don't think of the metaverse. Don't think of digital worlds. Don't think of them as you see them today. Think of them as they are in the future. Think of the concerts that you've gone to. And don't just think about the screen as it is today, which is a 2D screen. Think about the sphere in Vegas that I just spoke about, which is this incredible device that's actually in this huge area in the middle of Vegas. Well, why would we not have these in our homes? Why would we not be sitting in our living room with our partner on a Saturday evening and thinking to ourselves, you know, I really want to have dinner in the middle of Rome. Boom. We're now in a world in the middle of Rome, but we're in there in our homes. And the entire dome that we're inside now has become the Colosseum because that's where we're eating dinner. And then we say, wouldn't it be incredible if we got the local Philharmonic Orchestra, which is based over in Rome, to play us some music while we're there? Bang. Suddenly we're listening to the most incredible music in the most phenomenal place as we're sitting inside the Colosseum, sitting outside the ropes in that time. And then we thought, gosh, I know we wanted to have a nice, quiet, romantic dinner for two, but wouldn't it be great if our friends from Australia joined us over here and we had a really nice dinner and we had some drinks together? And then they arrive. And suddenly we have a social environment and we have been dressed, powered by Yunya, because we have our entire closet there. We have the people around us that we want to engage with and we want to have fun with. We have food that we have our own food. It's there, it's around us. I'm not talking about having a green pill or a blue pill or a red pill. Like we can be sitting, having our dinners at our tables while we're with our other people, speaking with them in real life, but immersed in a place that we are not restricted by walls or seas or geography. And then as we're there, all of these things are things that we can buy. They become a currency. Everything we do is part of that currency. Our time is part of that currency. Our efforts are part of that currency. Who we are is part of that currency. And based on those currencies, we're able to buy whatever we want. And we can have things that we're buying and we're using online, whether it's access to materials that make our online presence happier, or we can just sit in a place where we can say, okay, great. Now I want to make sure that I'm in a place where I have stuff delivered to my home and I can use that when I'm actually there. We can also facilitate worlds, like take it to another level. Like we started off with fashion in the metaverse, fashion digitally as we enter into this fourth revolution. Let's talk about helping people. Let's talk about folks that are in like really not maybe the same position that we're in, and taking those folks and being able to say, okay, now we've got somebody who's in a place, then maybe they're in Ethiopia, maybe they're not in the same place as ourselves, but I need to understand about these people before I can help these people, because now my digital currency can go all around the world. And before I was siloed into one place, but in this new world that we are in, we are all meshed, we are all connected, we are all immersed in a way that we can do things that we could never do before. And to be understood, we first have to understand. And the more we can, the easier it is to understand, the more immersed that we actually are in this. So now we can get to know these people in these domes, in these spheres, in this immersed world, which now is multiple worlds and multiple places that we can go to. And that's what we have. And as is with any, I mean, as I get to the last few moments here, and you're then going to hear from an incredible speaker, a very, very talented lady, who's one of the top venture capitalists in our time. And she speaks to like the future worlds, the public worlds, the areas that really, you know, a lot of which us early stage venture capitalists, not areas that we're hugely familiar with, but we want our worlds to become part of. You're going to be able to get this great glue to see, like, as innovation starts in an area, where does it actually go to and where does it finish? But I would just say, in summary, everybody should be really excited about what's coming. You should be excited about the breakthroughs that are happening in innovation. You should be grateful for folks like Yunya who have created not just this metaverse, not just this Frankfurt Tech Week or Fashion Week, whereby you're able to engage with fashion in a way that you've never been able to do before. But you should be grateful because it's helping usher in a world of innovation and immersion that would not be possible without founders like Anna from this company who say, I'm prepared to give up a large portion of my life so that I can help create a world that's never been imagined before. And we're fortunate over at Expert Dojo that we get to invest in those founders and we get to be part of that world. And we get to be able to take part in maybe one of the greatest revolutions there's ever been. This industrial revolution is going to be the one that truly takes us to a place where we can start to enjoy everything that's been happening before us. So we're going to continue to invest. For anybody who ever wants to know more about Expert Dojo, you can see all of the wonderful companies that we've invested in on our website over at expertdojo.com. They include Yunya, and they include Hannes over at breathing.ai, who spoke a little bit before us, and includes many, many, many of the other hundreds of companies that we have invested in and will invest in the future. So I will finish with this. You are all living in one of the most exciting times there has ever been. This is the time where you're going to get to enjoy and immerse yourself into the innovation and technology in a way that has never, ever been possible before. It is going to become and is becoming consumerized quicker than any industrial revolution before us. That is going to mean that you now have a stake in making sure that this innovation goes forward and an ownership in bringing that new innovation to the world as we have ourselves. So I would like to thank you. I would like to bring Taisa up on stage and maybe say a little hello to her before I jump.
Hello,
Well, hey,
Brian.
Taisa.
Hi, can you see me or is my image frozen?
Oh, you're frozen, but you're frozen in a way which is phenomenal.
I'm looking.
If ever I'm frozen, yeah, if ever I'm frozen like that, I want to keep it. I never ever want my face to be seen properly again.
I
Actually,
no.
you look like you're about to run for president.
There we go. Now it's a frozen smiling. Okay, I don't like this.
Oh, come on. Can you go back to the old one?
I can't. I don't know what I did. I just disabled and then turned it back on to see if. Oh, there we go.
I want you to hold your face. I want you to hold your face like this, just with your finger on your chin, looking up. There you go. That's perfect. Keep it there.
Okay. Well, so I don't know what's going on, but every time that I click on the camera, instead of putting the camera on picture, apparently.
It does.
Right. So
Our,
I just.
it's one or the other. But the good news is, here's the good news about all of this, is that you look fantastic, and everybody can hear you. So
Okay, that's
yeah,
important.
you look great. And I know you get to hear me yabber on like way too much, but I know that everything I'm saying, you kind of agree with. Do you kind of agree with, or sort of agree with, or totally agree with? Or how are you feeling about the fourth industrial revolution?
No, I absolutely agree with you. I think this is one of the most exciting times that we are on because there's not only tremendous opportunities for innovation, but there's also this moment in time where everyone has a voice and can be creative, right? It doesn't require the same old skills that you had before. Now, if you can really just spend, Brian, you know this, you know how curious I am. And if I just spend, like, let's say 3 hours on the internet looking up videos on YouTube, I can learn how to do things on the internet, right? I can learn how to code and do things that otherwise I wouldn't think. So I'm horrible, like, at drawing. I remember one day, Brian, that you saw my handwriting and you're like, what is this? and it's me drawing. I can't, but guess what? I do have this creative mind, and I can make drawings online, and I can use numbers or, like letters and numbers to create a vision that I have in my mind that otherwise I wouldn't be able to draw. And this is, I think, it's the impact that, the fashion and the matter have, not only for, like fashion of clothing, but fashion of decoration items, for even for architecture. Like, can you imagine the amount of beautiful homes and beautiful event spaces? I logged in, before logging into this one, I was logged into the live event one, and I was waiting into this, lounge where there was a big screen. There was like 5, 6 other metaverse avatars, and I was like, okay, this is actually pretty cool. I wanted to learn how to walk around. But yes, I do agree. I mean, I come from a generation that didn't even, like, when I was first computers, it was like the beginning of personal computing. And growing up as a teenager and an early adult, my favorite thing was to play the Sims. And I kid you not, it was not just about playing the game, but it was actually creating the avatar itself, putting the right clothes on the avatar, decorating the houses and building the houses. So, I mean, this is like to another level. Can you just imagine that now we shouldn't be this beautiful picture of me looking up, holding my chin. It could be an avatar right now within, I believe, like Gucci did, what is it called? Like a collaboration with Roblox. Can you imagine just me wearing a Gucci, beautiful, I don't know, like either a jewelry, a watch, or, like one of their blouses in the collaborations that they did. So there's a lot of opportunities in this space. And yes, not always I agree with you, but this time I agree with you fully.
It's an amazing time. I came into Las Vegas, and I saw the Sphere, which is the immersive sphere that cost $2.2 billion to build. Where, by the way, the greatest rock band of all time are going to be playing at their opening, and I think it's in November or December, which actually is the first time I've ever really, really, really wanted to go to a concert, because they're creating. It's not about online or offline. It's not about innovation and having to just only be online. It's about being able to combine the very best of everything, the very best of being able to create worlds that embrace the entire world, and the very best of being able to touch and feel and be around the people that are right beside you, so you're not away from those people. And so I love the idea that the dome is immersing them in this thing. And one of the things I was talking about just at the beginning is like how we're going to move into these worlds whereby we benefit from everything, which is amongst the 7 or 8 billion people that are on the planet. But at the same time, we are in the place that we're in, which is our own local communities. And the innovation, you and I have the privilege, like you have a larger fund that you run than I do. But we have the privilege of being able to take stages of innovation whereby, I look at them at the very early stages and you look at them at the later stages and say, how do we take these innovations and help them get to market and see where they go to? So I'm enjoying hanging with you for a minute while I
please do.
talk about the awesomeness that's actually happening stuff, and then I'll just get off and leave you to it.
No worries. When I was preparing for this talk, I was like, okay, like, how much do I know? So, like, everybody, you're seeing this frozen image, but just for reference, I am not the most fashionable person in the world. I like wearing comfortable clothes. So I'm always on slacks and t-shirts and, like a pair of Vans. This is since I moved to California, because I used to work in Wall Street in New York City. So I was always wearing dresses, pencil skirts, high heels, and all of that. So I really needed to go to a place where I'm like, okay, now that I'm in California, I'm gonna cool a little bit. I'm gonna try to be more about my brains, not about my looks. So, but I was like, okay, what do I know about the fashion industry? And the first thing that came to mind, one of the top 3 billionaires in the world, it's not in the technology space. It's actually Carlos Slim. Carlos Slim, I'm sorry, not Carlos Slim, the and Louis Vuitton is a consumer brand. And they, of course, they have a bunch of conglomerates of brands and all of those things. So it really just to show that an industry that has been considered like let's call it boring because it exists since like Adam and Eve. Like it doesn't matter. Like as soon as humans started existing, we needed to have some sort of clothing so we're not exposing ourselves, right? So it does exist. And then the fashion started becoming a part of people's identity. A lot of the things that I see, you know, like Brian and you were alluding at during your talk, is it's been an industry that it's just like focused by one or like maybe a few, but selective group of people that define what fashion should be for everyone else. Now with this, you know, with the metaverse and the like, let's call it like the whole immersive virtual world, we have the opportunities for all of us to be declaring our own identity and expressing ourselves through beautiful pieces. All of us have the opportunity to do so. So just, you know, like for perspective, which I find it to be incredibly amazing, the total fashion industry globally, it was valued in 2020 to be 1 trillion. That's a lot of money. But that's not going anywhere because guess what? Everyone expresses themselves through the piece of clothing that they wear. It's just like even the most boring person wearing clothes that he was like in the Steve Jobs, he was known for the pair of jeans and the black turtleneck. So everyone does that. Now, if you can bring that to, you know, like the quality of the immersive and collaborations, because, you know, like I honestly don't think the large brands like, you know, Gucci that I had mentioned before. Now I think even Balenciaga, they have video games, items, and you know, like Louis Vuitton, all the big brands are now doing that. But even smaller brands, I think Adidas did it the same thing. So there's a lot of ways that people can be inspired by your world, but then put this into this either virtual world. One thing that I really want to note is that, you know, like a few weeks ago, we had Apple coming out with their eyeglasses. I'm gonna call it eyeglasses, although I think it's called like iPro, whatever it is, like Glasses Pro. It's now an augmented reality. So there is now a new world that it could also be explored to the same level. So the metaverse doesn't necessarily need to be all the virtual reality where you have avatars, but now it can be also the augmented reality. So that way you connect both worlds, that it's like, okay, it's ourselves over here in this world and then ourselves in the virtual world, and now there's a combination of both. And there's a vast category of innovative and things that we can explorate moving forward. So, you know, like when I look for the early stage, of course, you know, like this is a brand new industry. Like we cannot discard that. It's a brand new industry. It's still unclear, you know, the different paths that it could take, but it's undoubtedly growing rapidly and steadily. You know, I apologize for my dog.
Hey, Maddie. Hey, Taisa, do you mind if I just because Maddie like gave me permission to come in, like
Sure.
You mentioned something which I actually think is a really huge thing, but I see slightly differently. And I wonder if I can challenge you a little bit on it. Is that okay?
Please, of course.
So I believe you are one of the bravest people when it comes to self-identity, because most people in fashion, they've used fashion. I see two things happening. Like number one, so many people hiding behind fashion. And so what they do is they put on clothing to hide from who they are, right? So when you say, I'm not the most fashionable person in the world, I think you are, because I think you dress for who you believe, the person that you believe and love who you are, as opposed to what a lot of other people do, which is to try and find clothing that can hide who they are and can create this identity of this person that's actually outside. And I think when you become comfortable enough in your own skin that your clothing can actually reflect that and you feel just really great how you are in social environments, you're really in an amazing place. And I think the second thing is that when you then move that digitally, you now have this opportunity for brands. And you look at how Apple became the biggest company in the world, right? They didn't come there by just selling phones or selling laptops. They came there by saying, before us, everybody thought there was one device per person, and that's all there'll ever be. We're going to make people have 5 devices. We're going to have big laptops, small laptops. We're going to have iPads. We're going to have iPods. We're going to throw a couple of phones in there. And what the heck? We're going to make sure that they have the headphones, and we're going to have everything in the middle. And now they've got the iPros as well. So they tie that all in together. And now we're going to have clothing companies in the future that are not going to have to just clothe one person with one bit of clothing the way we thought that was going to be before. They are now going to be able to clone that clothing 3, 4, 5, 6 times in different ways. And maybe if people become as self-confident and self-comfortable in their own skin as you are, those folks are actually going to be able to create wardrobes that reflect their own identity. And by going into virtual worlds, they're actually never going to be as real as they always wanted to be in the first place. That's all I wanted to say.
Well, yeah, thank you. I appreciate you saying that. I will still agree that I'm not the most fashionable person, but like the thing is, I was not always this confident in being able to wear, like the clothing that I wear. It's a process, right? It's an evolution that I went with my own identity and personality. So, like I think I'll go back to the example of The Sims. Like when I was a teen, it's very awkward kid growing up in Rio de Janeiro, Brazil, that all I wanted to do was live in New York City. That's all I wanted to do. So even me was always creating that other reality of me. So I was very fortunate because I had parents that worked in the US that they were like, okay, you want to live in the US? Go. I was like 14. My parents let me go and move to New York. And, like I've been out in the US ever since, but it's been, like it's been an exploration. And I think that that's the most important thing, like if for everything that we do in the world, but it's because, the world of fashion, it's a really revolutionizing world, especially when you put it together with the opportunities of this innovation and innovations that I maybe it was like 2019. I was at, I believe it was in 2019. It was a UCLA talk of the internet. The internet started, I think, the first connection to be message to be sent over initiated from UCLA, and it went to another university over here. But there was a lot of people, a lot of techies, and a lot of like the guy from Google, Eric Schmidt, Aston Kutcher as a venture capitalist was there. So there was a lot of people, Mark Cuban, they were all in this presentation, and Peter Thiel, which is one of, like from the Founders Fund, one of the proliferate investors and founders, one of the founders of PayPal, investors in SpaceX and Tesla and all those things. And one of the things that Peter said really caught to me was, for a very long time, like since the creation of the Web 1.1.2, there was not much innovation technology to actually increase our productivities other than social media, which is believed to be decreasing our brain cells and decreasing our intelligence versus actually providing something to the world. And I was like, wow, it's actually absolutely true. Like from the moment that I grew up, that I didn't have Wikipedia. Like if I had Wikipedia when I was a kid, oh my God, I would be the smartest kid in the world. Ace all of my exams, or even ChatGPT now, I would do so well. But I didn't have any of that. And now, like for the past, I'm going to call it like years, we actually started seeing this new realities, or like the virtual realities, which for me, I don't like calling any a virtual reality, because for me, virtual seems like that we're living a different world outside of ourselves. And I don't think that that's the case for what has been built here. I think it's another way for us to explore who we truly are, so then we can bring home and be more comfortable in our skin. So, like I think it allows a lot of those explorations. So I like usually connecting the dots of the technology, the real economy, and then we as humans, because we're emotional beings. So I think it plays, like what has been built here, it plays with all of those things. It builds up confidence, it builds up me, and it really builds up the future with all the innovation tech capabilities that we can have moving forward.
I agree. And that point about the way that Apple grew by being able to multiply their output in a way that nobody ever even imagined possible before is the same way that fashion are going to be able to do it, using all of these immersive now platforms that they never had before. Like before, you send me a pair of shoes, that's it. You got me for those shoes. I'll keep them for as long as I keep them for. And the only way that you could sell me more is if the shoes started becoming maybe not so great quicker, right? Which is not the best consumer model in the world. Now you can dress me all around the world. You can dress me while I'm on one metaverse, another metaverse, and you can actually not only just dress me, but you can make my clothing interactive, engage, and do all kinds of things that were never imagined possible before. I think what's so exciting about the worlds that you're an expert in the public markets world. You've worked for Safra for years. You know how public markets work. You know what pushes the ticker up and down. I'm an expert in the very early stage world. And I think what make you and I such a great team is that we have that like that smash in the middle of both of those, which is when companies and brands really start to explode. Like, how do you see that happening over the next couple of years? And do you think this is going to be a more explosive period than maybe what Apple did before?
Yes, with a caveat. Like first and foremost, I think that there's like this increasing demand for personalization. So the example that you gave, like you buy a product and then it's sent over and then you're stuck with that product. And, like allows personalization to happen. So it's not just one product, then it's used by everybody the same. You can actually customize and make it unique to your personal needs for your personal identity. So that's one. And then I think there is the aspect where the society is going more towards that, with a more sustainable and ethical practices. And I think that gains an importance that, with the real economy in the fashion, the real fashion industry economy, you have involved of the materials. If you think leather, for example, well, yes, like it's comes from an animal, and then it goes into factories, and then you have all of this labor around the world, which it's very well known that there's, like certain brands. I think Nike was in trouble for a little while, and then they had to make sure that there was like no child labor to produce their sneakers. So that's all of this. So when you think of the sustainability and ethical practice together with the personalization, that all increases the demand, because that's the trajectory where the world is going. And now, like the third aspect that I would say, like this last third pillar, is that for the first time, this is a trend that we already see in the world, is there's actually this need for the new and younger generations to disrupt the established brands and have space for more of the emerging artists, emerging, fashion designers, even emerging, like the emerging startups, even emerging investors, like since we're going to plug this, because we want to do things different in a better way than it was done before. So this is, like in my opinion, is a trajectory that is going to be like, it requires, like we cannot discount that going to fully, it's which I don't think it's going to be the case. Like we're still humans, we're still going to live in the real world, so it's going to be a combination of both, but it requires adapt. And humans adapt very slowly unless there's a major disruption in our behaviors, which was the case of COVID, right? So we are used to do things that we know. But guess what? A lot of us, and especially, like I'm a late millennium, but, like if you get half of the millennials together with the Gen Zers, like there is this big push that how can we make life more collaborative with everyone in the world, how we can make life more innovative, create, and really allow people to express their true voices. So this is the trend. So I do think it's going to be the next revolution. If you put that, like with the whole crypto, NFTs, metaverse, you put all of those things together, there's absolutely no doubt in my mind that if we are having this conversation again in 10 years' time, this is going to be the new reality of the world. And we're already be talking about the next 50 years. Because, I mean, look at us. Like we're always evolving, right? Even our body cells, every 10 years, we have a brand new body cell. So yeah, of course. And especially when the trend is for the better. It's for the best. It's literally trends that we've been seeing, that it's like, it's not only more transparent, but it has this ethical production. It has like, and it starts gaining the loyal from the customer base, because at the end of the day, it's consumer, right? It's required to have loyal. So you need to make sure, like that you don't need to follow the same playbook from, large established brands, but you do need to make sure that you identifying yourself and speaking to your customer base, because that will be key. And I think, like those three pillars that I mentioned before, I think those are like essential for this to grow. And, like if I were to look at, like maybe with this answer, it gives you a little bit of my brain, especially when it comes like having worked for so long in the public markets and in I've always was looking for trends. And those are the three major trends that I see, that it allows me to extrapolate the future that I see for fashion in the metaverse.
And what do you see? Because you're an expert in, I'm an expert in the early stage markets. So I look at like, what do I think is going to be able to break through, and what's really exciting and it's fun and it's cool. So it's easy for me to look at like the spheres and like personal domes and home entertainment domes and immersive environments and crypto being able to use to pay for all of these wonderful things. Forget about wallets, forget about phones, forget about everything. Like it will just happen automatically, because the AI that's built in will already know what we want to pay for and what we don't want to pay for. But on your side of it, which is the later stage, which is the companies that actually break through, and how will they be impacted? If you look at the largest fashion companies that are in the world today, whether it's the Paco Rabanne, of the Yves Saint Laurent, or all of the great fashion brands that have been around for so many years, how do you see these future huge companies evolving based on what's happening digitally online? Like, do you see the same companies becoming bigger? And like I mentioned with Apple, rather than just selling one device, now 5 devices get sold per person, and immediately the size of the company is 10 times more because of the way those devices are being used. Or do you see new companies coming in and providing an entirely different type of fashion? And will those companies be worth more than the companies were before? Like, paint us a picture of what the public markets look like in 10, 15 years, allowing for what's happening today.
Yeah, that's actually a great question. And I mean, of course, I don't have a crystal ball, so I don't know what it's going to happen. But based on, like I'm going to give an educated guess. I do think that big brands, they're going to continue to exist, and they might become bigger if and they're smart enough to be able to adapt. I see, like I had mentioned before, that brands like Gucci and Louis Vuitton, they already did partnerships with companies with the metaverse and video games. So I think Gucci did a partnership where they were able to collaborate into this like online gaming platform, and it's more like in the immersive digital. Like that's what they're doing. They're exploring everything. They're exploring the virtual reality and using Gucci branded products into that. So I think Louis Vuitton did the same thing, but they did it with a video game, Leagues of Legends, maybe. I think that's what it was. And like it's the same thing. And like Brian, you and I one day, because we have a portfolio company in the gaming space, and we were talking about like how it's impressive that people buy skins, like like for the years and everything, and like physical merchandise is being bought. And I think that's exactly what Louis Vuitton did. So yes, there's already like the brand being recognized in the real world, that it's like, if I talk about Gucci, Louis Vuitton, people recognizes those brands, and nowadays Balenciaga and all of that. But I also think that there's a big space for new companies, new creative people, because there's always space for that. And you just need to be talking in reality. Whoever, it's not like the winner takes all. It's not a zero sum game in this space because there is space. We're talking about 1.5 trillion. It's not going to be one brand that it's going to take it all, right? And one brand cannot talk to every single consumer because remember, the whole key, in my opinion, here, which was the first pillar that I see, is being able to customize. So those brands really need to speak to their consumer base. And in order to be able to speak to the consumer base, you need to be loyal or you need to be authentic to your brand. So yes, I think that there's not only going to be those large brand incumbents, but I think there's going to be a space for a lot of new startups to come in. But they need to be very smart how they're playing the market. They need to make sure that one, they are identifying their customer base, speaking to their customer base, getting exactly what their customers want, and keep innovating, innovating, innovating. With the metaverse now, I am here sitting over here in Los Angeles, California. I can just go in the metaverse right now and I can buy skins or a piece of clothes. I don't care. Anything I can buy from somebody that it's living in, let's say Poland, just because my family is Polish, so buy from someone in Poland. Or I can then now go and shop for a little bag that it's going to put in my avatar. And it's delivered immediately, right? It's not that they're creating something for me. It's delivered immediately, boom, it's on my avatar. And now I can have my little bag, the designer in Brazil, just because my family and I was born in Brazil. So boom, there's all those things. So yes, I think the trend is incumbents, if they play this smart, they can go for partnerships because there's a little bit of also hesitation with the bigger brands, but I think they would have to partner with brands in the digital world to become big. But it's blue skies in my opinion. There's beautiful blue skies. It's ready for it to be taken over by all these brands, and it's a future that I'm excited to be part of, and I cannot wait.
Oh, I got all tingles. It's like that. It's like that phrase that says, you don't need to worry about your job being taken by a robot. You need to worry about your job being taken by a person who knows how to work with robots.
Exactly. I 100% agree with that statement.
Yeah, which
and
is
I like
why
how
every
we
time.
ended up. Sorry.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
go on to. No.
No,
Go on.
I was gonna say I like how we ended up doing like a conversation instead of just a presentation. So thank you, and I hope that was good for everyone.
I like hanging with you. Whenever you're on, I'm thinking the only thing we're missing is a glass of beer. Anyway, I think our time has come, and I believe Jason is in the room, and he's going to be coming through, and so there he is. Wonderful. Hey, Jason.
Hello.
Why is my camera the one that it doesn't work? I'm gonna try again.
It looks great, Tyson. Don't ever stop it like that. Look,
keep trying.
like you're the president right now.
Look at this.
It's amazing. No, that's terrible.
Okay, I just keep doing it again. I just put my hand in my chin. Sorry, Jason.
That's okay. We're gonna get kicked out pretty soon. Jason, it's great to see you. We've spent the last I spent like 30 minutes just talking about early stage innovation and what's happening. And then Thaisa came in, and Thaisa is my partner over at Expert Dojo and works in the has got experience in the later stage space. So really glued together the two sides of what's happening. And to create some context and kind of help bring you into this, Yunya, which is just a phenomenal company in the digital fashion space that we at Expert Dojo invested in a long while back because we love what they were doing. And we saw the move from physical to digital and to online. And as Thaisa said, it's not about a war of both. It's about having both live together in harmony, whereby people can happily get what they want to get, right? It's sometimes like the old Mick Jagger stuff. Sometimes you don't get what you want, but you get what you need. And the metaverse like ties beautifully into this. And I love the fact, I'm in Vegas right now and Thaisa's over in LA. And when I came into Vegas yesterday, I saw the new Sphere which is this incredible dome, which is $2.2 billion, and is maybe like the personification of what the amazing immersion from like in real life into immersive mixed reality is going to look like, with these incredible music experiences that makes us wonder, like, did we even have music experiences before? In other ways, our lives become better. And what I love about you, which is why we like ran to invest in what you're building as well, is that you're the architect of this digital future. Like, we talk about it and we look at it and we enjoy it, but you've been building out the digital reality of innovation tomorrow for years and years and years. And I felt when Anna said to me, like, who can we bring on that would be like so hyper relevant within bringing these worlds together, where we look at metaverses and we look at Web3 and we look at digital currency and we look at like, what will humans look like in 10, 15, 20 years? I thought, well, what better than the person who's been architecting these digital realities for us for years and years and years. So it's great to have you here. This is just a wonderful, relaxed environment. Although we're sitting here, talking to each other on the screens, the reality on the other side is we're all avatars in the virtual world that you have created for this universe. But it's great to have you here, buddy.
Thanks so much, Brian. It's great to be here. And I was listening into the conversation before, and it's amazing. Not only kind of your individual perspectives, which I think are spot on and speak to the future of the space, but also to see how we're finally starting to kind of help the help the kind of social conscious to understand what is this thing we call the metaverse, right? And it's not just some gimmick, and it's not some place where we just want to run around as avatars and escape reality, right? And I think Taisa touched on it before, where kind of this allergy in a way to the word virtual, right? Because it's really not about virtual. The word augmented might get closer to it, but that's where I'm most excited about about this space and about all that. So thank you for that. Thank you for the introduction. Not sure if it's kind of relevant for me to go through kind of a little bit of a background and a little bit of touch brick and all that, but I've got a few kind of just kind of thoughts on things I wanted to riff on, or we could even just keep a conversation going.
Yes, look, so that would be amazing. Look, for me, I think it's very important to be able to explain to everybody how significant that we are when we're talking about things, because that context is tremendously important, and nobody is more significant than you when it comes to actually speaking to building this digital future. So a little bit about your background, about what you've built before, maybe a little bit about the size of those companies. I know you can't go into valuation, so you don't need to go too deep, but the size of them, because people have to understand you've built out worlds bigger than anything that's here. And I don't mean metaverses and things. I mean digital realities that needed to be architected in a way that like our great cities needed to be architected. And I think touch breaks and what you're doing over there is incredibly important about what you're building, because what you're building speaks exactly to the innovation of the worlds that are still yet to come, because you're building out that infrastructure, and you're not just building it out, you're democratizing it so that everybody can take a part of it, and they're not beholden and held captive to other people's tools that they have no control of. And then I would love to hear where you feel this world is going to, and kind of what gets you excited about what's being built out in that world. And I'm quiet until, T will stay on for as long or as little time as she has, but I'll stay here quiet, and you pull me into the conversation whenever you'd like to.
Will do, Brian. Yeah, thank you so much. And yeah, it is that democratization. And no matter what we build, my thesis is always, technology and what I architect and what I build, it succeeds when it's really not even perceived to be there, right? And what that means is that human beings don't have to deal with the grating edge and that bleeding edge of the technology and all the complexities of that. It's just there for our benefit. Right. And that's where we can take these technologies, and that's how we can democratize them, is by making them part of the human experience, not about humans kind of, trying to go square peg into round hole into all of these like glorious kind of towers of technology that architects that are way too smart for their own good have built, that don't serve the purpose of a person. They serve the purpose of a system. And so I think that my ability to kind of create these companies and these platforms, kind of time and time again, has come from always using that as my guiding principle in terms of what I built, and kind of using that to talk a little bit about my career. My first company that I created was in the e-commerce space, and it was early days e-commerce, but the experience was always, hey, let me go to a website and pick some things from a catalog and go and check out. And that's phenomenal, right? We still have that today and have those kind of online points of sale. What we saw was an opportunity to say, hey, video games, it's a massive opportunity, right? There's so many cool things that are going on here, or music platforms. As a gamer, as a fan, I want to be able to purchase directly in that experience. And so we actually built the first e-commerce platform that powered in-game sales. So you could, buy armor for your character, or exchange or trade, with the game platform within there through financial transactions through e-commerce, all on the back end without leaving that gaming experience. So that's where we started. That's what got me kind of into, Silicon Valley after I exited that company. And then from there, moved into, I'll kind of gloss over a couple of them, but the next kind of major area that I saw was the emergence of crypto and, decentralization. And so back in the early days, I had the opportunity to co-found really the first ever crypto exchange in the United States, and the first ever to be a regulated crypto exchange. So, in that case, we took the approach of saying, look, there's all of this kind of institutional Wall Street activity, all of these systems. How do we create a platform that just is plug and play into that, right? They don't need to go and leave where they're trading, what they're doing, in order to bring on these additional kind of asset classes into their portfolio and into their trading. So that's what kind of ItBit, Paxos started as, was doing that. So fast forward, spent some time in HR tech with ADP, which that was a really phenomenal experience to understand how we look at talent within organizations, and how not only kind of how we pay them, right? That's phenomenal, and that's an important thing that continued innovation is needed there. But also too, how do we even understand performance and providing feedback to workers and helping them grow in their careers and all those different facets of things. So that was a really great experience to be part of the leadership with ADP, pushing that forward. Moved into then, more getting into kind of artificial intelligence, did some work in kind of the financial services space and artificial intelligence. But then, wanted to get, kind of back to my kind of call it roots within blockchain. And so did some work in the NFT gaming space, had an opportunity to be a CTO of the largest NFT sports game in the world. And there we were really pushing towards how do we build just an amazing, delightful experience that's not only just for individuals, but groups can get together and enjoy that experience together. So kind of creating these like social environments and experiences, and not just saying, hey, we want to really kind of, cater to the individual sitting alone, playing a video game. It's how do we both create online communities, but also in real world communities. We even hosted events at, places like, Las Vegas and New York, where we would fill, a bar full of people that were all cheering on, one individual racehorse in the game, and just the experience that created. So fast forward into TouchBrick. TouchBrick really is, we're focused on deep technology opportunities in the next iteration of the web, right? And, we can call it Web3, we can call it, really whatever, but we see it as that next iteration of the internet and where we are going. And as the internet also transcends its current, kind of call it runtime, right? Specifically, our TouchBrick Cloud we look at the opportunity to integrate the entire world of decentralized blockchains, Web 2.0 services, all these things that we have through generative AI that then results in smart contracts. That is our perspective on what is the real lifeblood of the blockchain and of decentralization, and that's smart contracts. And how do we put that in the hands of any creator, anyone in an organization, any person that has an idea for how they can progress their company forward, can identify opportunities where they can delight their customers even further, and doing that through the opportunities, whether it's on the metaverse or on the blockchain, and kind of on and on. So that's where kind of TouchBrick Cloud is focused, and that's where we are. We've seen the real kind of opportunity to. We don't want to take it out of the hands of kind of deep engineering talent and the folks that are working directly within kind of the current landscape of blockchain. It's not about taking anything away, but it's about broadening the playing field, and back to that kind of democratization concept. How do we put it in everyone's hands? I had kind of at Zedrun, we created a couple of other game IPs and really had an opportunity to start to get into virtual world creation, and looked at, okay, what what's kind of important here, and what is the metaverse, and how does that work, and what's really the virtual world opportunity. And so for me, it's about social and human enriching experiences without our current real world physical limits, right? It becomes this amazing canvas to experiment on and enrich our life. And why the blockchain matters here, that's still evolving. We're going to find more and more kind of use cases for that, and as that goes forward. But the early traits that matter are, ownership and interoperability and permissionless existence, which really, if you look at it, that emulates how we all pursue our physical existence on Earth. So we want to also have that when we're interacting on these virtual worlds or interacting with brands and things like that, right? Something that we don't have in, say, for instance, an Instagram feed or some of these other social platforms. We don't have ownership, we don't have interoperability, and it certainly isn't permissionless. And so those traits, I think, are massive in terms of, someone will say, well, we can create a VR experience or a virtual world without the blockchain. Why does that matter? Well, those are the reasons why it matters, because in order for us to have those experiences and have those experiences mean something to us, we have to be humanly vested in that, and those traits start to speak to that aspect. But even further than that, the metaverse to me is a platform that has an opportunity to enrich the real world, right? Things that we can do within the metaverse and within these experiences, and as we're experimenting there, what are some of those things that we can then also bring back into the world that we've found out, or that we've found out about ourselves, right? We can break out of our own, insecurities in a safe environment, and that then makes our, kind of real world experience that much better, because we've had that kind of interaction and experience into our brains. There really isn't much difference between, having a great social interaction or, kind of confronting one of our fears in a virtual space and then doing it in the real world. There's some different sensory inputs, but effectively, I think it's the same thing. And so I think that's a really kind of massive opportunity, and where I'm really excited about that space. Kind of being here, I'm located in Florida, in Southern Florida, and what's unique to Florida, which I haven't had too much exposure to in the past in my kind of entrepreneurial life, has been the Space Coast here and kind of the entire space industry, and that is such a great example of where we've gone to other worlds, right? Other kind of out into outer space, and that's the moon and all of that. And so much of that technology that we used to get there and to thrive there comes back into our kind of terrestrial lives here and makes it better. And I had some great conversations with some folks yesterday that are in that industry, and they're really excited about the blockchain. One, for that kind of reason, but really also too that we can't rely on centralized connected networks when we start talking about space and we start talking about the opportunities that we're doing out there. So I think there's a really great kind of both an analogy that speaks to kind of space benefiting Earth and also metaverse benefiting IRL, but also too how decentralized technologies are really at the forefront of so much of what we want our future to be. And all of that kind of comes back full circle into, well, what is the intelligence of that space and of that layer? It's smart contracts, and it's integrating those smart contracts with further opportunities of information, other whether it's LLMs or artificial intelligence stacks or whatnot. The more that we can integrate that world together, and the more we put it in the hands of everybody, the better all of that becomes. So that to me kind of in a kind of a full perspective of things is what I see as the opportunity and why it matters to be building into this space. And if you think about the fashion aspect of it, that speaks to all of those pieces, right? Whether it's experimentation on whether it's new kind of avant-garde fashions or things that you might not have an opportunity to pull off in a reasonable way in the real world, but you want to see how that experience is in the metaverse. It's a great space for that. It allows us to redefine certain aspects of individualism. If we think about things like maybe fast fashion, right? Fast fashion gets a lot of bad press, and rightfully so, because of its environmental impact. But what a lot of fast fashion speaks to is like, how do we address the now? How do we get something in people's hands that speaks to the current trend in that moment? And next week or next month, there's going to be a different trend, and we want to be on top of that. We can't keep experimenting with that in the physical world because of the actual physical impact of that. So how do we actually do fast fashion in a sustainable way? I think the metaverse is an enormous opportunity for that. So it's really, really cool. And all of this, of course, AI is everything, right? And to what you were saying before, right? It's the whole don't be worried about kind of AI just doing everything for us. It's about that it's going to be there right alongside of us, whether it's taking on the tedious tasks that we don't need to kind of worry about anymore, so we can operate at a higher level, or it is actually building things in more robust ways or ways that we might not have thought of, that's then enriching what we're doing and making that product that much better. But when we think about the metaverse specifically and how we experience it, I think AI's opportunity there is one of emotion, right? And how can you bring a real emotion into these environments? It's by bringing emotion in life that's relevant to our individual human experience based on us. So I want to have this, contextual kind of, LLM about me that understands what I like and things that kind of resonate with me. And maybe there is, whether it's a building, an animal, an avatar, an experience that I can do that is that much more relevant to me and speaks to my personality and my emotional needs in that space, than what we can currently do in virtual world environments or anything like that today, right? The people that we truly love to have around us in this world are people that understand us, right? And people that we can communicate with. And we want to have that as well, as we go into other experiences. But we want also too our systems to have that same kind of level of understanding of us and create experiences that are that much richer because of it. And I think, those layers of technology and this being that AI layer is what can really afford that in there. So that's what I'm really excited about. And that's the systems that I try to architect and build and do because of those kinds of impacts that it has.
So exciting. And when I look at you, I kind of look at, I don't know if you ever heard of an architect, Frank Gehry, but like one of the great architects of our time. And so one thing is like going into a city and enjoying a city, but another thing is actually architecting a city so that people can come in and really, really, really enjoy a city. And sometimes like it's the really obvious things like the sphere that you come into in Vegas. And sometimes it's just the really beautiful, subtle aspects that allow you to navigate through the roads of Barcelona in a way that makes you feel like you're in this small little town, which is your town, as opposed to like a colder and maybe more impersonal city. And you get to do that. You mentioned two things, which I just want to touch on in the last 5 minutes or so, right? The first thing is how you can actually almost create the metaverse and your online persona as a training ground to be able to help you mentally deal with the complications of life. Just it's hard, right? And in real life it's really difficult because all of our fight and flight stuff starts coming in and we get just it's very hard. While actually having this online world as a way to be able to train all of those emotions becomes amazing. And then just so I really love if you could dig into that a little bit and just talk about like from a architectural side, like how do you create worlds that allow people to see that, and where do you see the architecture going in the future? And then the second part of it, like as a technologist, as a CTO now in multiple companies that have become unicorns, how does your mind work to build out the infrastructure that facilitates the user experience that's going to be great for everybody in these cities and these worlds that you're creating, rather than just stuff that you like? Because I think that's what separates someone like you from someone like me, whereby I'm like, yeah, that would be cool. I'll do that. And I look at a very linear journey going forward. While if you're trying to make sure that millions of people go through the most optimal user experience on every level, that is an immense undertaking. So I would love to get into your brain and work out how, in the name of goodness, do you do that?
Sure. Yeah, so architecturally, in terms of that kind of the enriching the real world through virtual world experiences and how to think about that, right? You know, I would look at let's take like a kind of a specific maybe use case of that, which is we have conversations maybe with a therapist, right? And that therapist's brain is kind of going on like, okay, gosh, what are they going through? What kind of experience should they kind of challenge themselves with to get over this or whatnot? And what I would say is that can be something that then that therapist has a prompt interface that they can kind of take their thoughts and put that into a prompt that is, I hold, let's say I'll get really kind of, I won't get too detailed, but I'll get really kind of, future forward with it. I, as the patient, hold this NFT that then is essentially, I own it, and it has my data, and it has any of this kind of like computation that the therapist is sending to me in terms of an experience that I should have, let's say in this virtual world. So they prompt that into an interface that LLM produces a result, right? So we have a specific kind of LLM in kind of the psychotherapy realm. It produces a result that says, okay, this is what you should experience, right? I'm afraid of heights, so I should stand on the edge of the Grand Canyon and look out over it while having a conversation with a loved one or something like that, right? And that then one can leverage a platform that can create that virtual world. Kind of think about it almost like DALL-E or God, I'm blanking on the other generative AI image interface. But regardless, right, there's probably a lot of interfaces that will emerge that can create a virtual world, and then all of that is within my data, my understanding, my context, right, in that NFT, and then I can go and experience that and kind of get over those challenges and use that virtual safe space to do that and see how that has improved. And then the data that I kind of either give back into, my NFT, my space, or that I say back to my therapist helps to kind of retrain that model and create more and more reinforcing kind of activities from each experience to progressively kind of improve, throughout that. So that's just very high level how I would think about implementing a solution like that in one particular use case. When it comes to the companies that I've created and where I've been able to be a CTO and build these technology platforms, look, I don't have a crystal ball that someone else doesn't have, and I know what the future is and what all of those users need and what's going to delight them or whatnot. But what I do focus on is effectively, and it's a very simple thing, which is a configuration layer. Right? And a configuration layer that can be expressed through a lot of different means, right? That configuration might come in through a user preference or something that they've clicked on or customized, or it could be something contextual to what's their location, what's their occupation, who are they? And all of that needs to feed into a configuration. And then my software needs to be basically agnostic, but driven by that configuration to produce the experience and produce that implementation. And without that configuration layer, we are instead going to just build these very kind of brittle silos that really don't address, everyone's needs.
Don't you get geeked out by this? Like,
oh, completely.
So excited because you're talking about curated experiences for individual folks that has to be adapted to millions of people. And I love that. I'm gonna steal that like so many times, like configuration layer, because like building that using, avatar is such a bland word that doesn't fully take into account how every individual feels. And what you're saying is, hey, by the way, before we build this architecture and even start on it, I have to start from a place of understanding before being understood. And I have to really understand all of the folks, what they like, what they don't like, what they fear, what they strive for, what they want to achieve in their lives. And then that's what the user experience needs to look like, which in many ways is such an overwhelming task. I genuinely don't know how you do it. Like it's a real true form of art.
I do it because I geek out over it. I love it. And when I see the kind of the outcomes from it, that's what continues to fuel me. And, I feed off of the complexity because I want to take in all that complexity and I want it to come out the other side in just one understandable conscious stream for the people that are able to benefit from it.
Oh, another good phrase. Oh, conscious stream. I like that. And how do you see? Okay, well, let's bring it to like an awesome conclusion. So when you look at, you see what's happened with everything that got built in Web 2, and like even now, like in many ways, like even though we're interacting in Web 2 kind of, and then it's going to move towards Web 3 in the future, like as you've seen it go from stuff that's been on screens to things which have become more interactive, to digital worlds that have started to be created, to conferences like this, whereby everybody who's in next, like what's the place we're at in like 3-5 years, where you look and say everything that's happened over the last 10-15 years, from our digital currency to our interaction to our immersiveness to the conscious streams, like what does it look like?
What does it look like in 3 to 5 years? Amazing. Well, how do I put this into a kind of a simple statement, right? Where I see it going is that, and I think the way that you framed it with Web 2 is phenomenal, is that it's the rise of the individual, right? And it's the rise of the individual in terms of, my data, my systems, my compute, my finances, all of those things are held by us, my electronic health record, right? Who I exchange information to and who has access to those things. We become sovereign individuals that then the experience of that is just simplified, and we cease to feel like we are the products, the targets of advertisement, all of those things. We are sovereign individuals that entire world around us is competing for us, and we can operate with intent and putting out our intents and having that be where the activity occurs around, as opposed to what happens today, where we're putting our personal, identities and selves out there, and then that's co-opted for others for their own kind of good and purpose. So, I wish I had kind of a more specific answer to that, but that's where I want to see it going, and that's where I see these technologies give us the opportunity to get to.
Kidding me? That was good. That was a John Connor finish. It's the rise of the individual. That's to take ownership of everything that was always theirs in the first place, but we've never been able to capture because there was too many buggers out there stealing it from us. I love it. That's brilliant, Jason. I believe that brings us to a conclusion of just a wonderful experience to be able to join this metaverse and Yunya and what this wonderful world that they're creating. So Jason, thank you very much for joining us, telling us what the architecture of these new immersive worlds will look like. Taisa, it's been wonderful chatting with you as well. And from myself at Expert Dojo, it has been my pleasure to join y'all. Thank you.
Thank you.
So thank you guys in behalf of Anna. She cannot join anymore, but thank you, and you're more than welcome.
All righty. We should retire.
Bye, guys.
Bye. Thank you.